pronouncing that correctly? Right. Got it. Thank you. I will do it.
Let's start with Mr. Guyton. Mr. Guyton.
You're on your way. For you. Hi, how you doing? How y'all doing?
They don't loosen it up a little bit for me. It's not good for. Oh, yeah. What's up? All right, I do it, sir.
You the man tonight?
Yeah, trying to be. Okay, good evening. All right, welcome all visitors, staff, and P&Z members, um, and the people at home being televised. Welcome to the Planning and Zoning Board. It's June 27th, 2024, and the time now is 6:39 p.m. If anyone wants to speak on an agenda item, please complete a public comment card and give it to the Planning and Zoning Board staff prior to the board discussion and before public comment section is announced. In no event will anyone be allowed to submit a comment card to speak on an agenda item after the title of the item is read or considered. Section 1. Let's go and give a moment of silence. And please stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, section 2, let's do roll call. Ms. Davidson.
Renee Burgess. Here. Margaret Shepherd. Here. Bruce Guyton.
Here.
Anthony Brown,
Present.
James Gallen,
Here.
William Wiley,
Present.
Frank Fernandez. You have a quorum, sir.
All right, Part A, acknowledgement of any board member absence notification.
Yes, Chair Fernandez did provide advance notice that he would not be present this evening.
Part B, acknowledgement of board member vacant positions.
Yes, Mr. Chair, currently there are 3 vacancies in the alternate member position. There's a vacancy for District 2, District 4, and District 5, alternate positions.
Thank you. Section 3, are there any additions and deletions to the agenda?
None.
Or do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
I'm sorry, if you may, additions and deletions to the agenda? There is none, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Would there be a motion to approve the agenda?
So-
Mr. Chair, before we,
Yes, ma'am.
Chairman, what, I mean, have,
You might.
I'm sorry. I know it's been open, these positions for a long time. Do we still take resumes for this board?
Yes, we are. We are actively advertising those vacancies. And in fact, the clerk's office is just starting a new initiative to recruit for all of the citizen volunteer boards in the city because there are multiple vacancies. We are still accepting resumes and we will forward those as we get them.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thank you. Good question. So again, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Second.
Properly moving second. Margaret Shepherd,
Yes.
Bruce Guyton,
Yes.
Renee Burgess,
Yes.
William Wiley,
Yes.
unanimous vote.
Section 4, disclosure by board members, well, first of all, disclosure by board members.
None received, Mr. Chair. However, in the absence of Chair Fernandez, if it's the pleasure of the board, we can appoint one of the alternates to serve as a voting member for this evening's agenda.
I agree.
Yes.
Chair,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I do have a disclosure to make at this time.
Okay.
Okay, I did meet with the developer for Oculina on June 11th.
And
Chair.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Guyton.
yes, I did meet with the developer as well.
And also myself on the 10th, if I'm correct. I met with the developer of Oculina also.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I did too.
Anyone? Anyone else? Okay. Any adoption to the agenda?
So move.
Second. What was that question?
Do we vote on that? The adoption?
No, I think we already did the agenda, didn't we? Oh, no, those were additions.
That was addition and
Yeah,
deletion.
okay.
We've already had the adoption of the agenda.
Okay, so we find just the next one. Okay, number 5, we do approval of minutes.
So move.
On May 9th, 2024, meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Margaret Shepherd,
Yes.
Bruce Guyton,
Yes.
Renee Burgess,
Yes.
first alternate Anthony Brown,
Yes.
William Wiley,
Yes.
unanimous vote.
All right, Part B, we're going to approve May 23rd, 2024 summary of minutes for the comp plan workshop. Do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
was there a second that's not you?
No, it
Because the chair can't make a motion.
Got it. So is there another second? So just approval for the summary minutes for the comp plan workshop that was on May 23rd, 2024.
So move.
Second.
Margaret Shepherd,
Yes.
Bruce Guyton,
Yes.
Renee Burgess,
Yes.
Anthony Brown, William Wiley.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
All right, on to item number 6.
Wait, Mr.
Yes,
Chair.
sir.
Did we ever identify an alternate to serve as a voting member? Did we ever identify an alternate to
Yes,
serve
it's
as?
the first alternate, which is Mr.
Brown.
Brown.
Oh, okay, all right.
All right, for number 6, do we have any unfinished business?
None from staff, Mr. Chair.
All right, on to number 7, on to new business.
Item 7A, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, amending the city's future land use map on behalf of the Riviera Beach Utility Special District applicant, approving a land use map amending LU 24-0003 to change a plus minus 1.9081 acre parcel located on Blue Heron Boulevard between Australian Avenue on the west and Avenue L on the east. PCN 56434228310010 from a land use classification of commercial to a land use classification of utilities, and to change a plus minus 5.9775 acre parcel located at 2391 Avenue L, PCN 564342283100150081 from a land use classification of community facility to a utilities land use classification, providing for applicability, conflicts, severability, and codification, and providing for an effective date.
For the record, Mr. Chairman, board members, Kurt Thompson, Principal Planner for the City of Riviera Beach Development Services. What you have here before you on the screen and for the audience is the proposal as read by Mrs. Marseille. There are 2 points to this. There's a land use change, and then there is the rezoning, okay? The land use change involves the property here. You will see here that it is right now zoned, the top part of this is zoned general commercial, and the bottom portion of that is zoned community facilities. Okay. Currently, the future land use is commercial and community facilities. The current zoning is general commercial and community facilities, as I've said earlier. This is a photo of the project location. What I want to draw to your attention is this part is not a part of this request. So it's this parcel here and this parcel here. This is not owned by the special district and therefore not a part of this petition. Again, there you have it. That right now you're looking at the, you're looking at the zoning here, which is general commercial with a commercial land use, community facilities with a community facilities land use. According to the city's comprehensive plan, commercial uses are predominantly connected with the sale, rental, or consumption of products or performances of professional or non-professional services. Also, community facilities consist of schools and municipal, state, and federal uses, which are implemented by the community facilities or CF zoning district. Neither zoning district allows
Excuse
water
me,
treatment
Mr. Thompson.
facilities.
Mr. Thompson, I know you're reading from your, but if you can speak into the mic so we can hear you.
Will do. Thank you, Ms. Shepherd. Okay, in addition, whereas according to the comprehensive plan, the utilities land use classification does allow municipal water and sewer, electrical and communication uses, and allows these uses by right in the zoning code. Okay. Special exception review is not required. Therefore, according to the city's zoning code, Utilities may be allowed by right per the Land Development Code. Now you see here the uses to the north, south, east, and west. Primarily, you're talking about uh, to the south of the property, warehouse uses in the general commercial zoning district. To the north is Blue Heron Boulevard, which is a right of way. To the east is L Avenue and warehouse uses on the other side of that street. And then on the west is warehouses and it's the zone limited industrial and general commercial. So what you have here is uses that probably would be congruent and compatible with what's being proposed. And the staff has analyzed the subject property and the utilities land use classification allows for the water treatment plant that's being proposed at this location. And the zoning code also allows for this type of use. As I said before, special exception is not required in this particular case. What we're talking about here is just the land use change and the rezoning. As I said, the future land in objective 1.8 in the comprehensive plan states that the city shall continue to ensure that its land development regulations are consistent with and further the provisions of the comprehensive plan. In this case, the applicant is proposing a land use and rezoning that will be in sync and compatible with the comprehensive plan to allow for a membrane water treatment plant to be located on the subject property. The proposed land use and zoning appears to be consistent with this future land use element objective. What you have here is a copy of the subject site and a copy of the notice on the subject property. There were two posted along Blue Heron Boulevard and two signs of such posted along Avenue L. Staff did not receive any comments. We haven't received any comments either for or against the project. And what we want to do here, what I want to say is that there's been a lot of public concern and input about the water treatment plant, and staff hears you loud and clear, or I heard you loud and clear. And so the intent here, since the zoning for these two parcels does not allow water treatment plants, is to change the land use and the zoning district to make it compatible to allow at least for the water treatment plant to exist or at least to be built on the subject property. Now, there's a preliminary site plan that they're working on, and that staff is working with them on this. That's going to come back under section 31-57, 58, and 59 of the code, which is the site plan. And then you will all review that and then make a recommendation to City Council. So staff recommends approval of this proposed land use change and rezoning. This really sets the tone to allow the applicant to come back to you all with a site plan proposal, hopefully to be reviewed with a recommendation from you all and then to the City Council. So therefore, the Planning and Zoning staff recommend that the Planning and Zoning Board recommend approval of this application to the City Council based upon the fact that this proposed land use change and rezoning is consistent with the future land use element and objective 1.8.1 public related lands uses. I have a copy of the comp plan here. I can show it to you if it need be, but it is compatible with this land use, and therefore the request is being submitted for your consideration. That concludes staff presentation. The applicant consultants is here if they want to offer any additional comment. I ask that you hold your questions, board members, until after the applicant has had a chance to make any words that they want to express to you at this time.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chair, 1 minute before
Yes.
Mr. Thompson leaves.
Ms. Shepherd.
Just wait, let me ask him the question.
Mhm.
You just mentioned that you had a copy of the comprehensive plan. why didn't we get a copy in our package, just
Thank
to
you.
refresh our mind? Well, why didn't we get a copy?
Well, the comprehensive plan, man, is multiple pages. If you like, I can see that that can be taken care of in this go around, but I can also tell you too, Ms. Shepherd, that that comp plan is under the process of being amended, as I'm sure you know. But if you like, we can work on that for the next go around there.
Well, that's the second time you did that. You brought up something about a paper. We didn't get a paper. You're just reciting something that I think you think that we're supposed to understand. But if you're telling us in the comprehensive plan, I like to know what I'm talking about. And if it's 100 pages, you could have called me. I would have sat in the library and read through it with no problem in reading it. But I think when you say things, I wouldn't even said it. Because if you say it, then we should have had a copy of it.
Well,
That's-
ma'am, that's fine. I can see that you get a copy or know where to access one, but
Do
you know,
that.
okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
I don't
So
think,
is someone coming up to speak?
I don't think.
Okay, ma'am, please, when coming up, please identify yourself, name, title, and affiliation with the project, please.
Hello, thank you. My name is Suzanne Meckler. I am part of the joint venture with Haskell and CDM Smith, which is the team that is designing and constructing the project. We don't really have anything to add. We've been working with Kurt on this effort, which is really critical for us moving forward with the site plan. We have also been working on the site plan, and we look forward to bringing that back to you. But this is helpful to have this in place so we can make that effort moving forward, focusing on stormwater, how we lay out all the buildings so you have parking that's required for the facilities, how the look and feel from Blue Heron will be. So all of that will be in the document when we come back, but this is necessary for us to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment cards?
And Mr. Chair?
Oh, wait, I have something for the consultant.
Yes, sir, Mr. Guyton.
On that property, there used to be a fueling station there. We're talking about putting a water treatment plant there. So when the site plan comes back, we're just dealing with the flu now, the future land use and the zoning. So I'm not going to get into the details about what comes with a site plan and associated studies. But I would be looking for an in-depth environmental study, not just because there used to be a fueling station there, but it's in an industrial area.
Yep, understood.
And chemicals leak from other buildings and companies and sometimes seep into other properties.
Yes, so your concerns are our concerns, obviously, right? We have to do our due diligence. The city owns the property now, so we were able to get an early works package approved by the city, I want to say in February or March of this year, that allowed us to demo the fuel storage tank. So we are currently in the process of demoing that, doing demolition on the site for that setup. The city was utilizing it more recently up to, I would say, 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago, maybe. So we are in the process of now doing a complete demolition of that system, as well as going back and doing what we call a phase 2 environmental assessment. So the city and us had already done a phase 1, but we knew we needed to go back and do a phase 2. That phase 2 couldn't be done until the fuel tank was demoed. So that is the intent. We're demoing now. You should see them on site doing that, and then we're coming back and doing more analysis to confirm that everything's been removed and there's no contamination on the site.
Okay, and please have those studies when you come back for the site plan. Make sure
Sure.
those environmental studies.
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I ask her one question
Yes,
right
ma'am.
there? And just touching with Mr. Guyton was saying, we know for a fact that the fuel tanks was there. And we know for a fact there was a leakage over there. And we know for a fact that ground is contaminated. And maybe when you come back, someone can explain it to us, how you're going to clean up that whole mess. Because for a very long, even the trucks was leaking the oil on that site. So I don't agree with this. I will not support it. I don't have to go no further than this until they come back with the study and allow us to know that And I heard Mr. Thompson say he hasn't heard people talk. Well, unfortunately, I hear it just about every day about the tank and why we're building there, why we're not building, tearing down where we're at now and just rebuild. Then I heard him say, people that work there, this is not hearsay, that even on the other site, there's a leakage over there with the rusty um, uh, pipes. So I want to make clear before we start this, we don't have clean water now. Now we're bringing it over to this site where it's been truly contaminated. Then go over to Savon. I think that was the name of the place where Michael Brown did a study and found out that the
Okay. Yeah,
May I
Michael,
finish?
yeah, so go ahead.
That was so rude. Um, and Michael Brown found out there was contaminated pipes or whatever. I moved here, so I'm just going by some of my remembrance that it was contaminated. And I heard not too long ago, I think right here in the city, it is still contaminated over there, but they got another storage unit, I think, over there. So I think that before we start selling wares about this particular site, that I think you all demonstrate that this site is really cleaned up and ready to go, because we all know that site is contaminated. We know that. At least I know it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Guyton, you have any more questions?
But no other than, today we're just dealing with changing the blue and the zoning, and I don't have a problem with that to move forward so that we can go into a phase where we can get those studies and then make a determination about the appropriateness of putting a water treatment plant, a water treatment plant there. And I do know that there are ways that highly contaminated sites can be cleaned. So I know that exists, but I would like to see the studies, and I'm okay with moving forward just to give you an opportunity to prove to us that that site has been adequately cleaned. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Burgess?
No questions at this time.
All right, Mr. Gallo?
No question.
All right, Mr. Brown?
No questions.
All right, and just to piggyback off what Mr. Guidance stated, just today we're just for clarification, we're just approving the zoning of the area, and like you said, another time we'll come back and have those studies before we do anything else, as far as getting the item cleaned up and just finding out how we can get this item cleansed, so therefore the city can have clean water. So I'd like to make a motion.
Mr. Chairman, you cannot make a motion. You
Yeah,
have to ask.
I'm sorry.
I'll finish that.
Go ahead, Mr. Guyton.
I move to approve this item.
Is there a second?
Second.
Margaret Shepherd,
No.
Bruce Guyton,
Yes.
Renee Burgess, Anthony Brown,
Yes.
William Wiley.
Yes.
That motion passed with Board Member Shepherd dissenting.
All right, let's go and proceed to number 7, Part B.
Item 7B, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, on behalf of the Riviera Beach Utility Special District applicant, amending the city's zoning map ZA-24-0002 to rezone a plus/minus 1.9081 acre parcel located on Blue Heron Boulevard between Australian Avenue on the west and Avenue L on the east, PCN 5643422831015010, from a general commercial zoning district to a utilities zoning district, and rezoning a plus-minus 5.9775 acre parcel located at 2391 Avenue L, PCN 5643422831-0150081 from a community facility zoning district to a utilities zoning district, providing for applicability, conflicts, severability, and codification, and providing for an effective date.
All right, that was for Oculina, or for the rezoning.
Rezoning.
That was for the
That's
rezoning.
part B.
So, yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, let me explain. What you did was to approve the land use. Now you have to take action to approve the rezone. So it's two parts, there's two ordinances, so now we need to have you to entertain a motion to approve the rezoning with a second.
Got it. So we're doing this part. Are there any other questions from the board? All right, so is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, can we just confirm that there were no comment cards for this particular item that was read?
No comment cards.
Thank you.
Need a second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Margaret Shepherd,
No.
Bruce Guyton,
Yes.
Renee Burgess,
Yes.
Anthony Brown,
Yes.
William Wiley.
Yes.
That motion passed with Board Member Shepherd dissenting.
All right, and on to section 7, part C,
Item 7C,
item 7C.
an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving comprehensive plan amendment LU 240001 from Silver Beach Partners LLC, amending objective 1.8 of the future land use element of the city's comprehensive plan to establish consistency between the comprehensive plan and Chapter 31 of the Code of Ordinances, zoning, Article 5, District Regulations, Division 23, Planned Unit Development, District Regulations, Section 31-497, 2 and 4, and Section 26-8B, 3 of the Riviera Beach Code of Ordinances, Chapter 26, the Minority Employment and Affordability Housing Opportunity Plan, MIHOP, in order to update maximum densities accordingly, providing for applicability, conflicts, severability, and codification, and providing for an effective date.
Sorry for the technical difficulties. Again, Kurt Thompson, Principal Planner, City of Riviera Beach. This petition involves a couple of points here that I want to bring to the board's attention here. There's a text amendment, there's a rezoning, there's a site plan review, and which includes the MIHOP height bonus request, and then there's a special exception for the PUD. By definition, PUDs are a special exception, so I just want to make that clear to the board. What you have here is a picture of the project location. This is 3700 Broadway. Broadway is here, Silver Beach Road is here, Lakeshore Drive is here. This is the site, as I'm sure most of you remember, of the old Winn-Dixie site. Property is vacant, well, the building is vacant, and the applicant is proposing a redevelopment of the subject site. Currently, the district is zoned downtown general. As I said, the property is vacant, and the current land use is downtown mixed use. The adjacent properties to the north is Silver Beach Road. To the south is a commercial strip center, which is future land use is downtown mixed use with a zoning of downtown general and has an overlay of the CRA Blue Heron North. To the east is single family residential. Future land use is single family residential and the zoning is RS5. To the west is a gas station and general store at that corner of Broadway and Silver Beach Road. The future land use is downtown mixed use. The zoning is downtown general with an overlay of Blue Heron North. Okay, so in the staff's analysis here, the text amendment, I want to make sure I explain this carefully, hopefully clearly. Um, the staff discovered when this applicant made application that in the comprehensive plan, let me start off with the section 31497 in the zoning code, which is the Inlet Harbor Center PUD standards. In those standards, it lists a floor area ratio of 5. Okay, the comprehensive plan for the downtown mixed use lists a 2.0 land use category. Okay, and so what this applicant is proposing is that the objective 1.8 of the comp plan shall be amended to add a floor area ratio of 5 within the downtown mixed use land use category as it relates only to the Inlet Harbor Center plan unit development, as reflected in section 31-497 of the zoning code 2 and 4. Those sections speak about MEHOP and talks about the bonus to acquire additional floors higher than 240 feet or 20 stories. In this case, the FAR is 2.0. So in order for this project to go forward, the applicant at the city's urging is submitted a text change to add 5.0 FAR to the land use element, which is congruent with the zoning code, will be congruent with the zoning code. Of course, right now the zoning code has 5.0 FAR, but the comp plan has a 2.0 FAR. So we're trying to sync those up together so that they're compatible. Along with that, we have MEHOP. And reviewing MEHOP projects utilizing the MEHOP bonus program allowed in excess of maximum densities and intensities regulated by the future land use of the property. Currently, this provision of MEHOP is now applicable and enforceable as a result of in the comp plan not having a 5.0 but having a 2.0 FAR and a maximum density of 20 units. By allowing this text amendment, the comp plan will be in sync with the zoning code. Typically, everything I've learned in planning tells me that the comp plan it controls and the zoning code is if you will, is a child or a result of the comp plan. So the comp plan has to be in sync first, and then you have the zoning code. Somewhere along the line, the zoning code with the IEC PUD was given an FAR 5.0, but the comp plan was not amended to match that. In this case, this is an effort to do that, to match them both up, so that they're both 5.0 in the comp plan and in the zoning code.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Guyton.
Mr. Thompson, you're using, and I know the board understands what you're saying, and probably many in the audience do, but there are some that may be watching that don't know what a MEHOP is, the acronym, and could you give a little summary of what that means?
Okay. MEHOP is the minority, let me go back, I'm gonna need,
Thanks.
here we go. Thank you, Mr. Guyton. MEHOP is the Minority Employment and Affordable Housing Opportunity Plan, which you see there in the second big paragraph at the bottom there. Minority Employment and Affordable Housing Opportunity Plan. What that is that the city, looked at the the economics and the demographics of this city. The city council did, and in their wisdom decided that the city needed something to deal with both the housing issues and the unemployment issue that exists within the city. And so this this plan was developed to first try to address the employment situation by encouraging developers or contractors to employ local residents. I'm sure I've heard this a lot from this board and concerns about hire local. Well, the MEHOP was an attempt to do that in terms of employment. In the housing situation, as you all know, I needn't have to tell you, but for the edification of the audience and folks on TV, the housing situation here in this city and in other cities is such that it's becoming more and more difficult to own a house or even rent, much less own. And so the housing portion of MEHOP was designed to create situations where, like this project, to either have so many units set aside for workforce housing, low and moderate income, et cetera. Okay. In lieu of that, in case that the applicant wants another alternative, the option was set where the applicant could contribute so much money into the housing trust fund in this city. Those funds would then be used to develop moderate workforce housing, et cetera, to meet the needs of the residents of this great city. Okay, so there are two parts of that. There's the employment portion, and then there's the housing portion. How did I do, Mr. Guyton?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Any questions on that? Because I did want to take my time and make sure everybody understands that. Was that very clear to everybody?
One more thing also, just to piggyback over Mr. Guyton stated also, with the 2.0 and going to the 5.0 again, can you explain that just to make sure?
Yes, sir. Right now, in the downtown mixed use land use category, by the way, the land use map is the comprehensive plan in a geographical format. Okay, you all have seen the zoning map and I'm sure the land use map. Okay, the land use map implements from a geographical standpoint the comprehensive plan. Okay, so with the FAR, the comp plan says for the DMU, and pardon me if I use the acronyms too much, but the downtown mixed use, a maximum of FAR 2.0.
And the FA.
And
Or-
but the zoning code
wait.
allows for this
Excuse me,
it allows a 5.0.
Hold on a second. Go on, Mr. Guyton.
You've been using FAR quite a bit.
I'm sorry, thank you. Floor area ratio.
Okay.
Okay, floor area ratio is this. You take a property, okay? It's much like building lot coverage, where a house can cover 70% of the lot. With floor area ratio, that would be, if you look at it like 70% of the lot, that'd be like 0.7. Okay, so you have a lot, and you can put 70% of the lot can consist of a building, that's 0.7. Okay. Now, in this instance, when you have a lot that's a small property, and you have let's say, you have a lot that's 10,000 square, let's say 5,000 square feet, and you have a floor area ratio of say 3, that means that they could cover that lot 3 times over, but the lot is only 5,000 square feet. So the only way for them to get that square footage and the density is to build up additional stories. Okay, and basically that's what's being proposed here in a sense. No, not in a sense. That is what's being proposed. Okay. Were we okay so far? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Guy. By all means, stop me, because I tend to use acronyms as a planner. I've been doing this for a while, so I'm used to doing acronyms. Okay, so as a result of this text amendment, In MEHOP, you have also a bonus. In that bonus, pardon me, I tend to perspire a little bit. Y'all make me nervous.
You're among friends, come on. You're among friends.
No problem. I
No
got
pressure,
you,
no pressure.
I got you, Miss Shepherd. No pressure. Okay, so with the MEHOP bonus, you see, the maximum height in the ICPD only allows the maximum of 20 stories or 240 feet. With MEHOP, it allows the it allows a bonus of additional 60 feet, 300 feet, or basically 300 feet or 25 stories. 25 stories or 300 feet. In this instance, this applicant has opted to use the 300 feet because the total height of these buildings is 298 feet. Okay, from the ground level all the way up to the flat roof, 298 feet. So they stay within the code by 24 inches.
All right.
Okay. Further, if I may, by getting that bonus, they're able to increase their density, and that's where they're getting their density from. Okay, this project, I may be getting a little ahead of the presentation of the PowerPoint, but I know this project, so let me just tell you, this project has 399 condominium dwelling units they're proposing. They have 9,680 retail space, and they're proposing 17,120 square feet restaurant space, and they're proposing 11,000 square feet of office space. Okay. In the ICPUD, as long as you have retail space on the first floor, instead of having a 25-foot setback, you're allowed a 12.5-foot setback. Okay, so you'll also hear that from the applicant as well, but I want to tell you about that so that I set the tone here for you. Okay, so what you have here, they're also proposing 1,007 parking units. The code requires 999, and so therefore they have an additional 8 parking spaces.
Parking space?
I'm sorry?
1,007.
How many parking spaces you said?
Okay, their code requires 999, Ms. Shepherd, and the applicant is proposing 1,007 parking spaces. Okay? Now, they're doing something unique here, which is a part of the conditions of approval. Well, I'm sorry, it's a part of the conditions of approval because Mr. Sermons has created a policy and procedures manual, which has conditions in there or has policies. What they're proposing is to use mechanical lifts as a part of to meet their parking requirement. Now, let me explain that a little bit. Mechanical lifts, they're being used in California and Washington State, in Miami and in North Miami. They're machines that allow a car to pull in, okay, and then this machine will, on a hydraulic lift, will elevate that vehicle, and then a second vehicle will pull in underneath it, okay? So in fact, you have 2 vehicles, one on top and one on the bottom, okay? They're proposing approximately 256 of such equipment. That's approximately 25% of the total parking spaces out of the 1,007. That's 256 parking spaces they're proposing via mechanical lift. It's a new concept that's been used in other places, new to here. The unique thing here is that our parking regulations do not address that. So in this process that the staff went through, we did some research on it and made recommendations to the director and to management, and we come up with a policies and procedures manual, which was also part of your backup, which states additional conditions governing the use of mechanical lifts. The other parking spaces that they have standard meets the code. They have ADA spaces, meets the code, etc. Okay?
88 for what now?
ADA parking spaces, American with Disabilities parking spaces. Okay. I can't remember, I didn't memorize the number of those, but they meet code, I believe, as I remember, there are like 15 or 17 of those, Ms. Sherbert, but please do not quote me on that. But it's somewhere in that neighborhood, but they do meet the ADA standards. Okay. Okay. Now, next, what you have here then is a unique project, whereas we're trying to work with the applicant to allow these mechanical lifts, but set standards of review so that we can determine and make sure that they meet the code and that the public health, safety, and welfare is protected with the implementation of these mechanical lifts. Since they are a new type of process being used, but they are used in other cities. They're used in Oakland, California. They're used in Washington State. Like I said, they're used in North Miami, Miami Beach. Just to name a few that we did some research on. Okay. Okay. In addition, they're proposing amenities. Those amenities exist on the 16th floor and on the roof of this building. Okay. Amenities such as pools, cabanas, things like that, which again, the applicant here will reiterate those things. That meets the code because under the ICPUD and the zoning code, it talks about amenities, which they're supposed to provide, and on paper, they're providing it. Okay, we as staff will make sure that those things are carried through if you decide to approve this project. Well, if you decide to make a recommendation to go to the city council. Now, also a part of that is this. This is the text amendment, which involves the floor area ratio, will have to go to the state, to the Florida Department of Commerce. It used to be called the Department of Economic Opportunity, but according to Section 2023-17 state statute, that department has been renamed to the Florida Department of Commerce. Okay, so that is where this text amendment would have to go first to that department for review in between first and second reading by city council. Okay. Now, let me now continue forward. I believe I've tried to state most of the issues, but I wanted to give you that background. Since I've been studying this project for quite a while, and in all honesty, I've been critical of this project in terms of there's a section that allows for reduction in parking, and I said to the staff, to my director, and to the applicant that they were allowed to reduce the parking by 25%, and I thought that's just too much of a reduction. So the applicant, and their open-mindedness, you got to give them credit. They said they would meet the requirement, and in fact, they exceeded the requirement. Okay, so I wanted to make sure that you are aware of that. So let me continue. Okay, so from MIHA, and again, Ms. Guy, thank you very much for getting me to define what that is. So like I said, in that second, currently this provision of MIHA is not applicable nor enforceable. The comp plan does not include language allowing properties in the downtown mixed-use classification to exceed the floor area ratio of 2 or 20 units per acre. The proposed text amendment will allow the comprehensive plan and the MIHA to be congruent with each other. As I said before, zoning codes are born from comprehensive plans and not the other way around. So we had to get that sequence corrected. And with this, if you approve this project with the amendment, we will accomplish that. Regarding the rezoning request, the proposed amendment is consistent with all elements of the City of River Beach Comprehensive Plan. The proposed amendment is consistent with the goals, policies, and objectives of the future land use element of the plan in that it complies with the downtown mixed use category. The downtown future mixed use category, this by its name, allows for retail, residential, commercial, a mixture of uses. This project, as required in the ICE and the Inlet Harbor Center of PUD, requires a mixture of uses. And they have accomplished that with the 399 units, with the 9,680 square foot of retail space, with the 17,120 restaurant space. I will say in that restaurant space, there's some outdoor square footage that's a part of that. And then with the 11,000 square foot of office. Those are the three elements that they're proposing in this petition.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
1 minute. You keep mentioning retail space. So
Ma'am.
where the Winn-Dixie is at, it's gonna take up that whole block? It sounds like you're taking that whole block.
Yes, ma'am. They are going to demolish that existing building and then build this project on that lot. I have renderings that I will show to all of you that will better illustrate what I'm saying in words. You will see it in pictures in a few minutes, actually in a few seconds.
These people that's in that complex, are they aware? Are they aware that they're gonna be moved out that whole block or?
Oh,
No, ma'am. I'm
no, they're
sorry.
not taking up the whole.
Well, I don't get
No,
it.
no.
He keeps
Let me
saying-
explain.
Okay.
We're talking about okay. It only involves this parcel here, ma'am. That's what the Winn-Dixie building was. There's all in this commercial zoning there with the downtown mixed use lanes. No residential uses are there. This is a Broadway. This is Silver Beach Road, and it's at the southeast corner. There's no residential there.
Okay, well, you got me kind of confused because Silver Beach Road is right there. There's Winn-Dixie.
Mhm. This is Lakeshore Drive here,
Okay.
but there's no residential uses.
You keep saying, I understand. I live over there. I can understand that. But go ahead. Maybe I'll ask a little bit in depth after you
Yeah.
hear.
Well, hopefully I have renderings here that will clear it up, Ms. Shepherd.
Mr. Chair. I think there was some reference to the other tenants in that strip mall there.
They will not be impacted. The applicant is going to be working with them if this goes through and the construction commences. They've made an agreement. If it's mentioned in their project narrative statement, they'll be working with the neighbors, with the commercial neighbors, to be very respectful. And in fact, they will have approximately 247 parking spaces, here, and that should be ample parking for the existing commercial uses here. Okay, I believe that's approximately 247, if my memory serves me right, from the project narrative statement that I've been reviewing. Okay.
Just for clarification, the bottom portion there that would not be impacted, if I'm correct, that's D&D's, right?
That's correct.
D&D's, and also the bottom part will be sort of, I think it's like a thrift store, Salvation Army type.
Right.
So they will not be impacted. They will
Not at all.
maintain their parking.
That's
from
correct.
that
They will
area.
maintain their parking. The applicant has said that in writing the project narrative. And I would also, Mr. Chair, ask you that I'm going to say to the applicant to be sure to address that. Okay, their representative nods his head.
Address what?
The parking, and that there will be no adverse impact to the commercial uses here south of this project.
Right, because the parking for this project will be inside of the
building.
Be inside of the building.
The two towers.
Got it.
Right. There will be no outside parking here. All the parking will be inside the building. That was one of the requirements in the zoning code, that they had to locate all the parking inside of the two towers. Okay, and no impact at all will occur here. Okay,
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Ms.
I'm sorry,
Burgess.
Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson,
yes, ma'am.
can you,
Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Burgess. I'm sorry, Miss Burgess. Go
can you
ahead.
just, I'm sorry, speak a little bit about, the parking? You said it's going to be 1,007.
At 7, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and how many total apartments, again?
399
399, that's
condominium units.
that's if they get the 25 feet, the 25 stories.
That's correct.
Okay,
And the code requires 2 parking spaces per dwelling unit. And so that would be 798 parking spaces. Okay. This from the residential part. That was the part that I had the most concern about and talking with Mr. Sermons and with the applicant, that part of the IAC PUD allows some reduction. And I felt that there was a need to make sure that that this project meet the parking requirement for all 399 dwelling units there, which they do.
they're gonna have, guests.
Yes, they have parking spaces in that 1,007 for guest parking that they've set aside. I don't know, I can't remember the exact number now. The applicant, I guess, will be able to answer that question. So hang on to that question, Ms. Burgess, and he can answer that. Ms. Burgess, that was also another concern I have, to make sure that there was enough parking for guests. As you probably imagine, with 1,007 parking spaces, the spaces will, excuse me, parking will turn over, because in the evening when the retail offices, when the retail place area is closed down and the offices are closed for the end of the day, those parking spaces will open up. You see what I mean? And so when you do with shared parking, you have a rotating based upon the hours. When you look at parking studies, you'll see where there's a peak hour and then there's an hour where it's less than peak, which then opens up additional parking. But I just wanted to make sure that there was at least a minimum of 798 parking spaces for the 399 condominium dwelling units.
I have one more question. Was there a study? You stated that this facility will have retail stores in there also, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so if it has retail stores there, will there be parking available for the public to be able to go in? Will there be parking in the parking for the D&D store, or will there be parking inside of the facility?
There'll be, oops, there'll be parking inside of the facility, because there's parking set aside for that. The exact numbers I said for the parking, for the retail aspect is lined out, but it's in place there, and the applicant can address that. But they met the parking requirement for the retail. Long story short, they did meet that.
The chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I hear you keep talking about these and whatever. I like to go where the nail shop is at, the hair shop. I think it's laundromat.
On that corner.
Now, will you be, excuse me?
What I was saying, on that corner, correct?
Yes,
On the
yes,
corner.
yes. So now how are you gonna address that? Because that building is gonna be so huge. Will they be able to come shop there or whatever?
Oh yeah, they should be able to shop there, because, like I said, all the parking for this development is going to be totally consumed within the bounds of the project. There will be no spillovers, and that was a part of the concern that staff had, in terms of to make sure there was enough parking within the 4 walls of this project, so that there's no spillover effect to the adjacent commercial uses.
Mr. Thompson, because I've heard this before, you all contain this parking and each person get 2 spaces, and I think that's what Ms. Burgess was sitting on. If there's a wedding and a funeral or whatever, all these cars are not going to that parking lot, so they're going to spill out over into that area. I think this is such a huge project. How many, comp 399?
399 condominium dwelling units,
How many feet? How many stories up?
25 stories.
25 stories in that area.
Yeah, right. It'll be a total of 298 feet from ground to the very top of the flat roof.
And you're trying to explain to me that it will not affect, it's already affected, Lakeshore Drive, going over to Silver Beach Road. I think this project is gonna be a little bit too, to me, a little bit too huge to even, put on that piece of property, because you're gonna impact a lot of people in that area that go in that area.
Understood.
And,
I
excuse
understand.
me, can I finish? Because I live on 23rd and 23rd and Lakeshore Drive. So I'm coming around that bend, and I like to take that bend because I have an aunt right there in front of, whatever that facility is. And then I come around, already, we can't get, at least I can't get through there. And you're gonna start building, and you're gonna impact that area. I understand that you all, have to build, they have to build, I can understand it. But I'm quite concerned that that is a little much for that area. And it's just, ridiculous that we even bring, and then you all have to remember one thing, I think Mr. Gallen brought it up, right there where that nursery is at. You're not telling it all, it's gonna be another 22-story building. I hope I'm saying it right. It's been a while since it was. So right now, you can congest that whole area. You got Berkshire Landing, you got the other condominiums on that side. And I feel like if we're not clear on what we're doing, this is gonna be another Miami. And I don't think it's fair to us. And I understand this growth. I don't know nobody say I don't want this city to grow. I do want it to grow. But right now, you're gonna congest that whole area.
Mr. Will, Mr. Gallion.
Yes, good. And I certainly appreciate your comments. Can we finish the presentation so that then we can have our comments?
Right. Now, let me try to move forward, Mr. Guyton, and finish this up.
I mean, if she's not done, entertain her, but I'm asking that you be allowed to finish your presentation, and we'll have an opportunity to comment and question and have the audience comment. But if he can't get through his presentation, it's going to be much longer.
Guy, I don't want to be disrespectful. I really don't. Please take my apology. I don't want to be disrespectful. But he's talking, and I can barely understand him. I'm trying to cling on to every word he's saying so I get to understand, what he's talking about. And I'm talking about the area. As you explain it, you're not putting it all together. They might not know, but I live over in the area and I know what it looks like. So that's all I'm trying to clarify before we start this dark moment that everything's gonna be okay. They're gonna build this and we won't enjoy anything. So let's be clear, I think we need to start filling in the pieces of where the nursery is at right now. They'll be building 22 units. So I'm through, Mr. Guyton. I'm through. And I thank you for your concern. Thank you, Howard. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We're good. I need to know.
Okay,
Mr.
proceed,
Thomas.
sir.
Okay. So let me try to, I've talked about the text amendment. I talked about NEHA, but we've discussed it. And I've discussed about the difference in the floor area ratio and the 20 units per acre. So the rezoning request proposal is an amendment proposed amendment is consistent with all elements of the City of Red Red Beach comprehensive plan. The proposed amendment is consistent with the goals, policies, and objectives of the future land use of the comprehensive plan, in that it complies with the downtown mixed use future land use category. If you remember, downtown mixed use is just by what it says, a mixture of uses. Well, and what this applicant is proposing is just that, a mixed use project. And then here you go, what I was saying, here is a description of the mixed-use category. Provides for retail, commercial, residential, restaurant, entertainment, civic, parks, marinas, and boardwalks. And at least three of these elements are what's being proposed. The retail, the residential, and the restaurant is what's being proposed here. Even the civic portion, that's a part of their amenities, which the applicant will speak about. Or at least I'm going to request the applicant to speak about the amenities. We're also saying, the staff is saying that it is consistent with the goals and policies and objectives of the housing element of the plan, in that it will allow for the project to provide new housing units within the city of Rivera Beach. This project will create infill development on an existing vacant. When I say vacant site, what I mean is the building is vacant and there's nothing happening in terms of a use there. This will add to the diversity of the housing stock, in that, yes, these will be market rate units, but one of the requirements is that under the MIHOP is that this applicant is going to be required to submit quite a bit of money into the housing trust fund. The applicant has quoted a figure in his narrative, in their narrative, but the staff is going to double check that and be very honest with you to make sure that it's accurate as to what is being said. It's something like $4.95 million, and based upon $105 per unit in the MIHA. But we want to check that just to make sure that the numbers do jive and sync with the MIHA.
Chair,
Yes.
question, Mr. Thompson, is that figure in the packet that we received?
Yes, ma'am, it is. It's in the narrative statement where the applicant did include a figure in your backup.
Can you pull it up on the screen?
This, in the backup, it's on page 21 of the project narrative statement. But to answer your question, Ms. Burgess, it says here it's in accordance with section 26-7 of the Land Development Code and the MIHA. They state that the applicant may elect to either construct off-site affordable housing units or provide an annual contribution to the Housing Trust Fund in exchange for the additional development rights granted by increasing the project's height from 240 feet to 300 feet or from 20 to 25 stories. This contribution will be provided in accordance with Table 4 of the MIHOP ordinance, which this ordinance stipulates that the developer provide 0.5 affordable units per unit, granted by way of the height bonus, and furthermore contribute $105,000, as I said, $105,000 per affordable unit being bought out of this requirement. So therefore, the applicants, according to their computation, they're proposing $4,935,000 to go into the Housing Trust Fund. Okay. Okay, Ms. Burgess?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am. The applicant has submitted written compliance with the site plan review standards, Article 3, Section 3157, 3158, and 3159 of the zoning code, and Sections 31-61 and 31-62 regarding the special use, special exception request. And like I said, in the project narrative statement, which is a part of your backup, the applicant addressed each of those 8 individual criteria, and in staff's professional opinion, it appears that they have met those. But again, that's the staff's professional opinion. Okay. Now, here are the renderings that I've spoke about. The subject property that's involved with this request, and the applicant will correct me, but I believe that this is the project. This is the project here. Okay. And this is the knowledge project that Ms. Shepherd spoke about that's going up right now in Lake Park. Okay. So this is the project that you're reviewing here, and this is the Nautilus 220 project here. Okay. Obviously, this is the intercoastal, and we're looking west. Next. This is Broadway here. This is Silver Beach Road here. And here are the 2 towers. And this is looking southeast, in the southeasterly direction. Singer Island is over here. And you can see, again, Broadway here, Silver Beach Road here. There's that gas station, convenience store that's right here on the corner. Okay. Next, this is Broadway again, looking due east. And here are the 2 towers consisting of a total of 399 dwelling units. Silver Beach Road is here. This is now looking from Lakeshore Drive, and here is the landscaping that I spoke of with the meandering sidewalks, a couple of green areas that they're trying to propose here to try to reduce the impact of the hardscape of the buildings here. This is part of the commercial, part of the restaurant, commercial, and office area here, this area here. This is Lakeshore Drive looking north. This is the residential area to the east, and to the west, as you can see, the subject property that's being proposed. North Shore Drive looking south. Here is the commercial mixed-use area here, and here is one of the 2 towers here. And here's the residential area here. This is looking from the northeast portion. Here is the commercial mixed-use area here, and here are the 2 residential towers that you can see here.
Mr. Thompson, go back to that last film. Is that where the boats are at right now?
And that's the harbor, that's the intercoastal harbor area, yes, ma'am.
It's right in back of this building, is that it? They're gonna still have boats there?
I'm sorry, let me make sure I listen to you. Go ahead, ma'am.
Are they still gonna have the boats there?
Those boats, as far as I understand, ma'am, those boats will still be there. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so this hearing was properly noticed according to state law and city regulation, in that they were to notify property owners within a 300-foot radius and to post the property, of which they have posted property. I saw at least 2 signs, because one is on Silver Beach Road that I saw, and I remember another one was on Broadway, because I personally drove the property myself a few weeks back, just to make sure that was done. The code requires mailers within 300 feet of all property owners, and that the property be posted with signage. Okay. Staff does understand the board's concern, and we tried to the best of our ability to make sure that every single criterion was met, and therefore this is why and it's in your backup. The narrative statement It's over 25, 26 pages long because they had to address each and every criterion. And we did I looked at each and every criteria as much as I could and try to memorize the use that's being proposed here to the best that I could, knowing that there will be questions. Okay. Staff received 6 communications from the community. 3 were in favor and 3 were in opposition. Staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Board recommend approval of this application to the City Council based upon these 4 findings of fact, that the text amendment will comply with the comprehensive plan. And I can say that based upon what's been submitted, this will comply with the comprehensive plan because this now will put the comp plan and the zoning code in sync with each other in terms of that 4-area ratio issue. Number 2, the proposed rezoning complies with the comprehensive plan and the land development code in that and as I said in the backup and the project narrative statement, which you all do have, they met each and every standard or criteria, or at least I made sure that they addressed them so that the board has it at your disposal to read and analyze. 3, the proposed site plan complies with section 31-57 through 31-59. That's the site plan review, criterion, and they met that. 4, the applicant complies with the special exception criteria, which involves the planned unit of development within the Inlet Harbor PUD. I want to also add, this condition was not a part of your backup, but we want to make sure that along Lakeshore Drive, that the applicant will install curbs and gutters along Lakeshore Drive and make those necessary improvements along Lakeshore Drive to ensure that the street have the necessary equipment, i.e. curbs and gutters, to ensure safe passage for vehicles. So that's an extra condition. I apologize, we got that information from our engineer department some time ago, but be that as it may, we're asking that curbs and gutters be installed as a condition of approval along Lakeshore Drive as a part of this petition. That concludes staff's presentation. I ask that, Mr. Chairman Board, you do what you think is necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
You
Thank
do whatever you think is
Thank you.
necessary.
I appreciate you. I do.
But the applicant is here now. They will make their presentation. It was my hope that I try to give you as best an overview as possible. I think I did an okay job, but I want to make sure that you were fully aware of what's going on here. Thank you very much.
Great job, Mr. Thompson.
Great
Thank
job, Mr. Thompson.
You. All right. Please identify yourself, name, title, and affiliation with the project, please.
Mr. Chairman, Wayne Richards on behalf of the applicant.
How you doing, Mr. Richards?
Mr. Chairman, good to see you. Honorable members, thank you for being here and thank you for all of the many hours you put in over the years. So thank you for that. And staff, glad to be here. Thank you. All right, we need a quick moment here. Okay, good.
I can help you. Is that the only one you have? Because that's this control.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good evening. I'm very excited to be here to present this project with the team. This has been a project that's been over 3 years in the making. I recall back in early 2021, when the city council of Riviera Beach became aware of the Nautilus project in Lake Park, and they said, hey, what's going on? What's happening to the north, and why isn't something like this happening here? We had many, many meetings. We had months of meetings with the council members individually, of course, and with staff, and that culminated in what I believe was a historic CRA meeting of November 10th, 2021. November 10th, 2021. After months of having meetings with the council persons, the commissioners, and staff, we went before the Community Redevelopment Agency. And this is directly from the minutes of that hearing. City manager said, there is an opportunity to see a development of the same magnitude and even larger in some cases right here in our city of Riviera Beach. Later on, the council said, we know this is something that will be a catalyst to create additional economic growth here in the city. You're looking at a sizable contribution to the CRA by virtue of the TIF, tax increment financing. That's the bloodline of your CRA, tax increment financing. That's why you have a CRA. We have a phenomenal team. Forest Development is the developer, led by Peter Batarian, who is a very humble, very caring and open person, very caring man. He repeatedly has told us, let's do what the city wants. We're partnering with the city. We're not going to fight with anyone. We're here to do what the city wants us to do. Here with Forest, we have Sam Bauer. Sam, please wave. Sarah, please. I think that's it from Forest right now. We have Insight Studio. You should be familiar with Insight, probably the best development land planners in the county. Please stand up. Thank you for being here. We have Simmons White, our engineers, R&N Architecture, and Caulfield and Wheeler, our survey team. Well, what is happening in the area? Lake Park is growing. I think many of us saw the Palm Beach Post article about 10, 14 days ago about what's happening in Lake Park. We know that Nautilus is on target and doing very, very well. This developer is doing what the cities or the community wants, and he's providing housing and growth. Sleepy Lake Park and Sleepy, the northern portion of our city, we hope will grow with your support. Well, we've been talking for 3 years, but Forest Development has been working here for close to 8, about 7.5 to 8 years, working with the schools, Washington Elementary, JFK, Inlet Grove, the Police Athletic League, Parks and Rec for our city, phenomenal Port of Palm Beach Holiday Toy Drive, Mother-Daughter Date Night, Friends of Manatee Lagoon, Community Christmas Toy Giveaway, our Boys and Girls Club on 13th Street, the Max Fisher Club, a back-to-school bash, I was there personally, the Oceanographic Foundation, and the River Beach World Oceans Day. So far, over 175,000, and this is out of the goodness. I mean, this is 8 years of just giving and being involved in the community. And I think many of us here, maybe some of you on the dais, have been to these events and are aware of this. This isn't anything new. And it's not done just for tonight. It's 8 years worth of ongoing community partnership. Now, what will this project do? A whole lot. Oh my goodness. 1,300 direct jobs, immediate and direct. 250 indirect jobs, 300 induced jobs, close to 2,000 jobs in Riviera Beach. 2,000 jobs. We have heard for years that we want our people to have these jobs and to be employed. We're going to talk about that. Mr. Guyton, members of this board, what will this do financially for the city? In annual taxes, close to $4 million. This project is approximately $425 million on your tax base. So that's $3.5 million of additional tax revenue coming into the city's coffers. Not one time, not two times, every year. And as values go up, that number goes up. This is a significant project on the north end that's quite sleepy right now. And quite frankly, we know it's at the Winn-Dixie. Right now, the Winn-Dixie is almost a homeless shelter. So the goal is to turn a negative into a significant positive. Wow. I will not read all these, but I would ask that you please look at them. During construction, who are the people that must be hired? HVAC, technicians, foremen. And for those of us that may not be experts, we need helpers. We need a helper for every line item here. Electricians, foremen, journeymen, plumbers, apprentices, foremen. Once again, we need helpers as well. Fire sprinklers, fire alarm, burglar alarm, elevator, carpenters, dozens of carpenters, helpers, apprentices, foremen. And we use the term apprentice throughout this because this is construction. And for those of us that have been members of unions, we're aware of the apprenticeship trade. That's how you learn your trade and you grow to become a foreman. Cabinetry, upscale cabinets in over 300 units. Windows, stucco, roofing, welding, metal fabrication, landscapers, irrigation, flooring, painters, concrete. There are numerous pools in this building, not one, not two, not three. There are numerous pools in the building. We need people who can be the flagmen and flag ladies on the street. We need general laborers, and we're gonna talk specifically about how we're going to target and give monthly, or actually give quarterly reporting on how we're doing in hiring people from River Beach for these jobs. You'll hear that today in our presentation. Paving, all of these must be filled. If you don't have these people working, you cannot build this project. After you build it, are you done? No. That's a very big building. You need many, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people to work. Our neighbors, our friends that need jobs. Well, right here in Riviera Beach, we need hundreds of people to continue to work on the heating and cooling, the electrical work, the plumbing, the pools, the flooring, all of these items. We need ongoing people that work locally. I'm sure people will not drive up from Miami or even Boca. These should be local people, and we're going to aggressively target local people for these jobs. We have quarterly reporting. We must do it. We want to do it. We're excited to do it, and you're going to hear more about that. Now, I kept on saying we must do it. I'm also saying we want to do it. When this project was presented to the city commissioners, or CRA commissioners, they looked at us and they looked at staff and they said, guys, you work together, make this happen. Go off the elected officials and just make it happen. Well, it's not that easy to make it happen. Staff had to work nonstop to figure out how can they do this? How can we do this? And Kurt Thompson did a phenomenal job, Mr. Thompson, of explaining the intricacies that staff has taken over the last year and a half, 2 years to bring this project before you. This has been a long time coming. We're very excited to be here. Well, the MEHOP program, we always knew we had to be at 300 feet. But by modifying the IHC PUD to allow 240 feet, it then required us to use the MEHOP to get back at the 300. We're excited to use the MEHOP. The MEHOP, as you heard, does two things. MEHOP requires us to aggressively do local hiring and reporting and confirming that we're doing that. And it requires the second aspect. It requires us to help with the housing crisis in Riviera Beach. There are two ways we can do that. We can write a big check for millions of dollars that goes into the city's housing trust fund and the city can build it, or we can build it. Well, I'm here to tell you, we'd rather build it ourselves. We're builders, we know what we're doing, and we would rather build the affordable housing that's required by this project. The option is there though. You write a big check and the city does it, or we do it. Either way, it is addressed, but we would much rather do it ourselves. So once again, the MIHOP does two things. It decreases unemployment by encouraging, really almost forcing in a good way, the hiring of minorities and minority businesses. It provides a means of increasing the supply of workforce housing in the city. That's the second component, the employment and the housing. And what it do, it revitalizes your downtown by giving them mixed use. The members that are before me now, I've heard you say this. We want restaurants. You've said it. You've said we want retail. You've said it. This project gives you residential, it gives you restaurants, it gives you retail, and it gives you office space. It's pretty much done, the MIHOP. We have our first, second, and third draft of exactly how we're going to do it with the quarterly reporting. Public outreach. How have we communicated this project to our neighbors? We have done door-to-door canvassing. We've actually walked the neighborhoods, knocked on doors, put flyers out there. We've invited the neighbors in an area greatly in excess of what's required by your code, because we don't want any surprises. We want everybody to know what's coming. In November 23, we had a community outreach meeting, it was very well attended. Then we did additional door-to-door canvassing. I'm at about 5 o'clock now in that little circle. Then we had another community outreach meeting in January of this year. Then finally, in March of this year, which is 3 months ago, we had another community open house. So we have more than exceeded what's required. We're not trying to skirt by. This is a big project. We want everybody to know what's happening, and we want everybody's buy-in. Additionally, we have operated and advertised our website so that you can click on it or you can scan it. It takes you to the project. We have email addresses and phone numbers of people who have participated, with Canvas. We've given out flyers, and we've had 3 community outreach open houses. So we've really done a great job of getting the word out. With that, I think I'm going to hand this over to Mr. Terry. Brian Terry is going to go over the specifics of the project, the site plan, the parking, and all the stuff that you experts are here to discuss. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Richards.
Thank you.
Good evening. Brian Terry with Insight Studio. It's great to see everybody here again this evening. As Mr. Richards mentioned, we're really excited to be here this evening. It has been a very big team effort for multiple years now to have this opportunity to kind of stand here in front of you, talk to you about this really exciting project here in the city of Riviera Beach. So I'm going to try to walk you through some of the technical aspects of the project. I've heard a lot of questions that I think I can try to answer as we go through this, show you some diagrams, show you some plans that I think will help to explain how this site is going to function. I will not belabor this slide. This is, again, we have a series of applications. It's all been coordinated. Again, I have to thank Mr. Sermons, Mr. Thomas. It's been a complicated project on behalf of both our side and I presume the city's side as well, navigating all these different applications. To have them all packaged up and to be able to come here together tonight is pretty special. Again, we've kind of talked about the site location. I think everybody's very, very familiar with it. There's a little bit of different look, kind of spread out a little bit more so that you can see it in context to a larger area. But again, that dividing line that you see right here, right, that is the separation between the city of Riviera Beach to the south and then the town of Lake Park to the north. So this is literally right on the edge of the north boundary of the city. What's important to note about this, and we don't want to talk about Lake Park because we're here in Riviera Beach, but we have to acknowledge where this site is located. It's unique in the city of Riviera Beach that happens to be sitting right next to property that is planned to see, is seeing substantial growth with the development Nautilus 220. Also the marina, the Town of Lake Park's Marina District area that has future plans for growth as well. So this is right at the doorstep, at the front door from the north side into the city of Riviera Beach. And it presents itself as a very unique opportunity that doesn't exist other places along the Broadway corridor. Again, kind of talking about just the technicality of the zoning. Again, this is in the downtown general district within the CRA. As you can see, again, the request here this evening is really the modification to the IHC PUD zoning. Again, we've kind of talked a lot about the fact that this is the existing Winn-Dixie site, unfortunately closed many years ago. Has been a bit of a nuisance for not just the city, but I would suspect a lot of the residents that live around it, due to the homelessness issues, sort of the lack of maintenance that was being, how it was being maintained for many years. Forest Development did purchase this property. They are utilizing it today as a staging space for cast during the construction of Nautilus 220. So it has gotten better. It's being occupied. There's people there, eyes on the ground, help. But ultimately, there's a bigger vision for what this can become. This is what it looks like today. This is the entrance into the city of Riviera Beach, which is basically a closed shopping center, a closed grocery store. So I'm going to try to walk you through the site plan. All right, this is a plan view, and I'm going to try to explain a lot. I think the question is like, where are these components to the building? How do you get into it? How do the cars work? What all is happening here? So again, it's been talked about. We have 25 stories, 300 feet. As Mr. Richards mentioned, we're achieving that through the MEHOP program. And so it has the 399 residential units, the approximately almost 7,000 square feet of retail space. And so let me kind of walk you through. This is Broadway. This is Silver Beach. This is Lakeshore Drive. And this would be a new connection that does not exist today on the south side of the building. So that existing shopping center, it's got the DD's, it's got, I believe it's the Goodwill. It's got a couple of other tenants in it. That's not being touched. We're not touching it. The parking lot's going to remain. We're actually going to make sure that there's an easement that accommodates so that anyone who's visiting that shopping center that's down here to the south and parks in that parking lot can access the roadway, can access Broadway, does not interrupt their function and their ability to operate their businesses. So retail space is being proposed here along Broadway. So again, what we've heard and what we discussed is activate our Broadway. Make it a street that I can walk up and down. I can go to a restaurant. I can go to a store. It's got nice landscaping. It's got nice lighting. It feels like a street and a place that I want to be. So that's what's being proposed, is you have essentially the opportunity for different types of restaurant here. We're talking about cafe. We're talking about fast casual. We're talking about fine dining. And so we have an opportunity that's being proposed as a cafe on the corner. We have this entire frontage along Broadway being retail space. Then we have additional retail space that wraps around the corner on Silver Beach, and then 2 restaurant spots that are along Lakeshore Drive. Again, and then there's additional office space that's built into the upper floors of the building itself. You saw a couple of these images, so I'm going to move through these, but just to give you context to how the building will look, it's a beautiful building.
Excuse me, Mr. Rick.
Yes, sir.
Be sure to mention about the parking being inside close to the building.
I will absolutely do that. So maybe I could give you some perspective. Well, I'll go back to that plan. That's a good point. Give me 1 second. I'll get to that. What you see here is, again, basically this is a podium. And so this podium is where those retail spaces, the restaurant spaces, the cafe, potentially a little market, all of those things could be along the frontage. And behind all of that is where the parking structure is. So you don't see the parking structure. It's not an obvious thing. It is hidden behind all that glass, all that space, that office, the retail, all those components. Then you have the residential towers, obviously, that you see there. This is sort of, again, looking east, as Mr. Thompson had shown the elevation of the building from that direction. And then from Lakeshore Drive. And as you can see, again, to try to understand that building just a little bit, again, this is that podium, right? So behind all of these, there's residential units that are being proposed on these floors here. There's restaurant space that's down here, kind of behind the landscape, and then internal to that is where that parking structure lives. We spent, from day one, we're not hiding the fact, we understand this is a large building, right? And our first conversations when we talked about how does this engage with the street, how does this engage with our neighbors to the east, what should we do to make this building transition into the smaller residential that's to our east. And so what we did is we really focused a lot on Lakeshore Drive. And as you can see, this is a rendering that shows how this would look in the built condition. This is going to be a brand new street. As was mentioned, there's a condition of approval that's being proposed here this evening. This was really an effort. We worked with Mr. Bailey significantly to understand what the city would like to see Lakeshore Drive become in the long term, because this is the opportunity where we can reform and change what Lakeshore Drive looks like in a way that is going to be beneficial to everybody. Make it a multimodal road that it could and should be to connect Silver Beach all the way down to Blue Heron Boulevard. So if I click one more time, just this kind of gives you the idea of what it will include. So now we're going to take those lanes, we're going to move them a little bit further into the center of the road, slightly narrow them so that we can control speed on that roadway, introduce bike lanes on either side of that, as well as then do new curbing, do new stormwater management, do new paving. There'll be infrastructure and utility improvements. So a significant change from what Lakeshore Drive is today to what it can be in the future. And then this entire portion here is what we're calling, so that you got a unique component to your code. It's a very strong thing. It asks, if you're going to do a project within this portion within the downtown CRA area, you have to provide civic opportunities. You have to provide civic open space that can be the benefit to the community, not just the residents or users of that specific building. So this space becomes a linear park, basically a linear civic space park that runs from Silver Beach Road south all the way down to the end of this property. That is, again, like a linear park, a green space that anybody and everybody is going to have the opportunity to utilize. Beautiful landscaping, lighting, seating, all the way down the stretch of the property. And so here again is that portion. So again, Silver Beach on the top, extending the entire way down. Not only does it provide for some public space, but it provides for a transition, a buffer, a landscape edge that really kind of separates the building from the development to the east. Same thing, we have significant open space and new landscaping, hardscape, lighting, improvements that are being incurred on Silver Beach Road, as well as along Broadway, along the entire frontage and surrounding of the development. This again is, that you saw this image, we just kind of graded back the building so you could see the landscape treatment that's being proposed along Lakeshore Drive. Throughout those community meetings, Mr. Richards talked about the fact that we had multiple community outreach, traffic, right? That is a conversation that always comes up. And so we do have our traffic consultants here this evening and can answer specific questions as you have. I'm going to kind of fly high level here and try to give you the highlights. But so how you would access this building, I think that's what a lot of people need to understand. So if you're coming from the north on Broadway, there's a signal, obviously, at the intersection of Silver Beach and Broadway. You would then turn east and then enter into the building approximately right in this location here. So kind of in line where about midway block, right? Not all the way to Lakeshore Drive, but about midway of that block. You would enter into this access point here, which you would gain access into the parking structure where those over 1,000 parking spaces reside. If you are coming from the south, you have two options. You could come up to what is now the southern, just past Dee's, right? Just on the northern edge of where that parking lot is now. There would be a new road that's constructed, a new access point right from Broadway. You could come in and then enter into the building on the south side. Intentionally done so that there was no access point. There was no reason for cars to be making their way along Lakeshore Drive and potentially causing conflict along Lakeshore Drive. Everything is on the north side, the south side of the building. Same thing on the exiting. You exit from both sides with the vast majority of anybody who's going to leave this property is going to go to Broadway. So that triggers a couple things. That forces us to do some improvements. One of which is very important is, again, the turn lane. So the intersection as it exists today is not going to look the same. There's going to be a brand new, completely dedicated right turn lane. So if you come out of this, or if you are along Lakeshore Drive and you come to Silver Beach Road, there'll now be a straight and left turn lane. And then there'll be one on the top side that's going to be dedicated to right turn lanes. Again, so we're improving that intersection, allowing the capacity to move faster and cleaner. Another item that we heard a lot about was the concern, again, about Lakeshore Drive and the speed along Lakeshore Drive. This is not a new issue. The city has in the past introduced speed tables and different things along that roadway to try to address that concern. As part of this project, again, we are completely redoing this entire section of Lakeshore Drive. Obviously, the existing driveways that are there are going to be worked into the design, so they'll be accommodated. We're not going to close anybody's driveway. Everybody's going to have access just as they do today, but now they're going to have access onto a brand new road. And in the middle of this, we're going to introduce a speed table again to help to control that traffic and speed, so that there's not a concern that if people find themselves on Lakeshore Drive or as they're moving north to Silver Beach, they'll have to control that speed.
Well, Mr. Terry, excuse me, did you also point out at the south end that there'll be a throughway, that will connect Broadway and Lakeshore Drive right there? Thank you.
This is another improvement. That what this will do, again, is if you're on Lakeshore Drive, it gives you an alternative means to get to Broadway, as opposed to being forced to go to the signal along Silver Beach Road. So again, this is a new connection that does not exist today. That's going to provide an alternative that is not there. Traffic is a process that, any development application, you guys are very familiar with this. You see this process. You are the ones who have to analyze it and determine whether it's meeting your criteria or not. And part of this process, we have to provide traffic studies that the Palm Beach County reviews, that your staff reviews. That is all part of documenting not just what's there today, but even those projects that may be being constructed or are approved, but yet not yet constructed. So it's capturing all this background information of future projects that are planned to be constructed. So it's taking the data that's there today, adding those projects to it, and then telling us, and then we add our project to it and find out what improvements might be necessary to do. What's really interesting, we can't lose sight. Just because the Winn-Dixie's closed doesn't mean that it wasn't an operating grocery store for many years. And if it could still be operating, it would actually produce more trips than what our development would. I'm sorry, I'm pointing to the wrong one. This one down here. So the existing supermarket, the Winn-Dixie, would be producing about 2,800 trips on a daily basis. That's what the data tells you. That's what is part of the report and had to be reviewed and had to be analyzed by Palm Beach County. Our proposed development with the residential, with the office, with the retail, and with the restaurant is less than that. Okay, so is it different than what exists there today? Yes, because the supermarket's closed. If that supermarket were operating and open, you would see basically the same amount of trip of generation between both of those uses. Parking. So we'll talk about parking here for a minute. I know this is an item that often also gets brought up. So Riviera Beach's code has us analyze parking based on every one of our uses that we're proposing. So we have to look at the residential, retail, restaurant, and office all separately. And we have to accommodate for each of those. So only are we providing the 200 parking spaces that are for the residential units that are there. I'm sorry, the two spaces per unit for the residential. But then we're also adding all the spaces to accommodate the retail, the restaurant, and the office. So all of the uses are in compliance with the city's code. As was mentioned, we took a lot of time and effort. We had a lot of back and forth with your staff and your team to come up with solutions to make sure that we met this expectation. So as you can see, we have the effect over 1,007 spaces, and that's 8 over what your parking requirements are. We have to reach out to our neighbors, not just the residents, but as part of this type of application, Town of Lake Park, they obviously, well, not obviously, but they did submit a letter of no objection letter. They see the opportunity again for this to be a significant addition to the north end of Riviera Beach, to the south end of the Town of Lake Park, a great symmetry for that to work together. Again, as was mentioned, we have traffic approval from Palm Beach County. Again, one of the important things to note is that we are required by condition by Palm Beach County to provide that right turn lane that does not exist there today. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's got to be there. The school district, this is a residential project. It's important that we have to reach out to the school district. They do a calculation that understands how many students this might generate, what schools they would go to, these kids would then go to, and then they produce a letter talking about whether there's an impact or non-impact. And in this case, there's capacity within the schools that these children will go to, and certainly they're supportive of the application as well.
Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Burgess.
I would like to have the applicant go back to that screen so we can't read that. I can't read it. So can you,
I'm not sure if I can.
None of us can read it.
I would like to know what schools are going to be impacted or what schools the kids would go to based on that.
Lincoln Elementary, sorry, let me speak into the microphone. It's Lincoln Elementary, John F. Kennedy Middle, and Palm Beach Gardens High.
Bethune?
I'm sorry?
Mayor McLeod Bethune, that's not on that list?
It is not on that list. So that's the districts that this property would be zoned for.
So you said Lincoln, JFK, and Palm Beach Gardens High.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
We have multiple applications. There's a lot of criteria that we have to meet. We're excited to be standing here in front of you this evening to say we're meeting them. You know, we're not here asking for variances. We're not here asking for relief from parking requirements or setback requirements or open space requirements. None of those things. We've worked to design a plan and a project that fits within the parameters of the zoning code here in Riviera Beach.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I said I wasn't going to stop, but you mentioned the cars going up and down. I think Mr. Thompson was trying to explain it. Suppose a storm come here and knock out all of the electricity. How is these people going to get their cars? Or do you? I guess you have another generator.
Of course, yeah.
A backup generator.
That is actually, as was mentioned, staff took a good deep dive into utilization of these lifts. And let me just say, this isn't foreign, not even to Riviera Beach. There are these lifts in the Amaret building on Singer Island. So within the city of Riviera Beach, there are mechanical lifts being installed and utilized here. They're very common. They're being utilized in West Palm Beach. It's a very common occurrence. It's not just in LA and New York. This is happening right here.
I was in LA and I did see this concept.
Right.
A friend was in the building, so I did see the concept. And it was very interesting. But I just always wondered with the storms and the floods and everything else, how is it compensated?
Right.
with the generator, I guess.
Very, very, very good point. And that's exactly right. So there's a, again, staff attached to this application is a PPM that regulates, basically, it creates new guidelines for how those can be utilized and installed within the city. Generator is one of those to make sure there's always backup power to make sure that they can operate and vehicles can get moved out in case of power loss. You know, I'm sure there's many more things that if you guys, we're happy to discuss it. We have our entire team here. We brought everybody so that, you know, if there's question that I can't answer, Mr. Richards can't answer, we have the right person here to try to work through it. Really appreciate your time. And we would certainly appreciate your support. It's an exciting project. Thank you.
Thank you. Very thorough report. And thank you for educating and advising our planning and zoning board. Will there be public comment cards on this section? Or excuse me, sir, are you done or is there any more?
We're finished for the time being, yes.
Okay.
We'll answer any questions.
Chair, wait, I
Yes.
have one quick question before he leaves. When I looked at the site plan, I see that the transit easement was still southwest.
Yes, Mr. Guyton, you are correct, and we make sure that we have that resolved because that is one of the amenities of this project is a new Palm Strand, not just stop, but shelter. And it's going to be located on the northern end next to Silver Beach, generally where it exists today, but in a new shelter. So,
Okay.
Yep.
Thank
I
you.
have a question
Apologize for that.
Chair, I do have a question before he leaves the podium. If you can go back to the slide that shows the new side road.
Talking about Lakeshore Drive?
Yes,
Okay.
right here. So coming off of Broadway and making that, not that down, yes, this road. You said this is going to be totally new.
That's correct.
Okay, so from the parking lot, where's the Goodwill? Is that the Goodwill?
Yeah, it's off the screen. It's like
Okay.
kind of down here.
Okay. So that's
That's
in
a good point.
between,
I
that's
made
in
that-
between the building.
Yeah, I made that note for myself so that we'll update this graphic, hopefully when we go to council to make sure that we show that building adjacent to it so you can kind of see the larger context of how that works.
Okay.
But that road is
Just,
correct.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Oh, I don't know. Were you finished or?
I'm finished.
Before it gets too late, the residents are here and I know it's been raining. I would like to hear them. I don't know them, but I would just like to hear what they have to say if I'm not out of order.
That was just asking for the public comment cards. Do we have any, Ms.?
We do, Mr. Chair. We also have 2 additional items relating to the same project that needs to be read into the record. Would we like to do so before or after public comments?
We'll do it after public comments. Is that agreed by the board? After? After.
Please.
We have a public comment card from Dr. Schreier. He does not wish to speak. Okay.
Speaking on behalf of the residents that are going to be impacted by this terrible project, we are all against it. We've suffered through this project that's been going on in Lake Park for a couple of years now. You've seen them polluting the water in the marina.
Excuse me, did he say his name? I didn't do.
Yes, go ahead now. Give your name and
Yeah.
My name is
possibly.
Dr. Schreier.
Okay.
I live on Shore Drive. I've lived there for almost 50 years.
Okay.
I have seen the impact of the last project. It's devastated our neighborhood. Plaster has been placed on the boats in the marina. They offered to clean the plaster off the boats. They destroyed the paint on many boats. The water has been polluted since they've been draining the water from the project. I personally have watched that. I've watched them take samples out of water bottles, drinking bottles, to take the samples. They tell me that the water is pure. I see the bubbles. I have the boaters there telling me that they see feces and all sorts of terrible stuff coming out of those pipes. It's been happening since the project began. Besides that, the project, I'm just speaking of things I've just noticed. Before, when he had the grocery store there, people could turn into the grocery store from US 1. Now you're going to make them go through Silver Beach and this proposed road. It's going to be totally craziness. The turnoff from Silver Beach from US 1 is one of the most dangerous turns onto the east in Palm Beach County. If a truck is going on the northern direction, you can't see around that truck to make a safe passage to the east, to your home.
Excuse me, not to interrupt you, Doc. Who's running the clock?
If you show me the drawing, I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. We're against it. We've put up with this for years. Right now, there's all sorts of drug abuse and people hanging out there. You're going to have more. Pardon? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Sir, I hope you have a public comment card? You can come up and address that for us so we can all hear you. Go ahead, so proceed.
I wake up in the morning and walk my dog at 6 o'clock in the morning. The people who are building your project now are not local residents. They are not the minorities from Riviera Beach. They're all Spanish. They're all people that don't even speak English. They are not the residents that you're trying to protect with these economic programs. They are not in any way part of Riviera Beach. I think the project is going to impact our neighborhood in a very, very negative way and our standard of living. And we've been living in the area for a long time and paying taxes and are law-abiding citizens, and we deserve better than that. They're talking about coming into the neighborhood and canvassing. That's not true. No one knocked on my door and talked to me about this. The only reason I found out about it is by talking through the neighborhood. I've met with these people before twice. Their answers are very insignificant. They're only caring about tax money for Riviera Beach and their own personal interest. They don't care a fig about the community. And I thought we cared about our community. We're Riviera Beach. I've lived here for 50 years, and I've never seen a boondoggle like that, the Nautilus 220. They're throwing the people who are hardworking citizens who have their little boats in that marina have experienced now over a 25% increase in their dockage. They're being forced out of the dockage because they're raising the rent another 50%. I don't think it's called rent, but renting the slips. It's a terrible situation. The water is polluted. They've killed a lot of our marine life there. There used to be, in that marina, there used to be occasionally a manatee. There were all sorts of fish. Now they're almost all gone. It's just a really terrible thing environmentally and socially for our community. I'm kind of speaking extraneously on this because I wasn't prepared to speak, but I'm just listening to what these people are saying right now. And they're interested in building a wonderful building and everyone making money and the town collecting tax from it. But they're not caring a fig about the community that lives there. Your community of Riviera Beach.
Thank you, sir. 3 moments.
Thank you. Now we will have Mr. Carswell.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Steve Carswell. I live in Riviera Shores, 160 Riviera Drive. I also own some commercial property in Riviera Beach. I'm all in on Riviera Beach. Been in here for about 18 years. Lived in Riviera Shores 12 or 15 years. I don't recall. I'm pretty tired. But that gentleman does not speak for our community. He speaks for himself and a few others who just last spoke. I'm all for this project. I think it's
Sir, please.
that guy has a shipping container in his backyard. Okay,
Address the topic, address the topic.
so anyway, I'm all for this project. Some of those renderings, I mean, look at it. You drive down Lakeshore Drive, it's Mr. Toad's Wild Ride right now. It's just horrible. Riviera Shores hasn't been paved in 40 years. You know, I'm from North Palm. I moved over, like I said, about 15 years ago, and my son owns a house there now, and they're paving the roads again. I grew up there. My mom lives next door. I can remember they paved it when I was, I don't know, every 20 years or something. 40 years, I understand, for Riviera Shores. The roads are terrible. I think this is a wonderful thing. I think the tax revenue to the city is going to be huge, huge. Maybe reference 220 Nautica with Lake Park and see where their tax base goes. Yeah, the taxes are real important. One last thing. I had a bunch of things to say, but I heard a lot about compliance. You know, the developers, private investors, the developers are here complying with this, complying with that. I would challenge everybody in this room to go through my neighborhood, and you'll see some non-compliance. Shipping containers, utility trailers. I read the code up and down recently. Illegal driveways. I mean, it goes on and on. One last thing. We just had a house go up for sale in our neighborhood 3, 4, 5 months ago. And I spoke to the broker, and the broker said, I said, what are they asking? Up to 2.2 million, right? And so it sold for, I believe, 1.416. I haven't been following it. I've been very busy working. But the same comparable properties in North Palm Beach, they would have scrambled over this waterfront property in Riviera Shores, a comparable property in North Palm Beach. That would have been grabbed up in no time flat. And you know why it didn't get grabbed up for 2 or 2.2 in Riviera Shores? Because you drive through our neighborhood and you see the illegal boat trailers, the illegal utility trailers, the shipping containers.
Thank you, sir. 3 minutes. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sorry.
And that's what that's all about.
All right,
So
thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Berryman? Mr. or Mrs. Shelley Day here? Okay, you're next.
Good evening, Savoy Berryman, 3600 Palm Drive, Riviera Shores, of course. Been there 24 years. And nice presentation and all that. But just to start out, our neighborhood will be the most impacted by this development. And, I'll try to be quick with this, but I speak for a lot of people in our neighborhood, and we're highly opposed to such a large condo, considering we have another one we're staring at right now. And, pardon me, I'm getting old and need glasses. But, on the other hand, they spoke about some of the points that we're concerned about, the homeless people that are surrounding that project in our neighborhood. They come in our neighborhood, rob our cars, rob our houses. So, with any change, those type of things will hopefully go away. The blighted real estate, and, as a result of some of the change, whether it's a smaller or large project, you're going to have the same inherent problems. Traffic, which they touched on, huge burden on the existing infrastructure, which obviously they will be redoing. Our neighborhood alone has an antiquated power grid. The telephone poles are old. I mean, internet's constantly going out, electric's constantly going out. Our roads are a mess, just as, gentleman just stated before. All this stuff, any new PUD, power lines, everything's underground. There's no more of this stuff. Directional drilling solves all this stuff. They can do it relatively quick. You know, I mean, because we're going to be affected so heavily by this project, you know, traffic calming, you know, they did mention speed bump and stuff like that. There's speed bumps on Lakeshore Drive already. And those, I mean, if you see some of these cats rolling down this road, they hit those things pretty good. I mean, it's kind of funny. They mess up their cars, but there needs to be something a little more substantial, you know, signage, redirecting of the traffic, something needs to be addressed that way. You know, that influx of all this traffic, especially with the new road. People are going to be lost all the time, going to restaurants. It's already a mess in there on Lake Shore. I've seen the traffic study, you know, little tubes out there where they address all that. So as much as we need development, you know, to improve, hey, your tax base and stuff like that, there needs to be concessions for our neighborhood that's going to be affected by it heavily. You know, you know, most of you guys don't know it, but I sold the 2 trailer parks that are now Berkeley Landing and Riviera Cove, and those were bad trailer parks, really bad. And I sat up before the city council some years ago, you know, promoting the development of Riviera Cove with high opposition. Now, there's probably not going to be as much opposition to something like this, but you know, the developer would never agree with me, you know, as less invasive. Those projects are way less invasive than this project.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Your time.
My time's up.
It should be
Hey,
fair to everyone else.
yeah, it's right in our backyard, not yours. So, you know, concessions for Riviera Shores.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Ms. Day? Followed by Mr. Scott Lewis.
Come on up, man.
Sir Ali.
Shelley Day, 3620 Palm Drive. I just want to say that I kind of read through the documents that they put together. And one of the...
Excuse me, can you take a mic and just push it a little bit in front of you? Pull it. Yeah, there you go.
One of the elements that they were addressing is in the, I know this is a planning and zoning, but for the comprehensive plan, objective 1.9.3 says land use and zoning requests that increase density or intensity in or adjacent to residential neighborhoods shall be required to demonstrate a benefit to that neighborhood. And I read through what they provided as benefits, and I don't see how any of them actually benefit our neighborhood. We're talking about 399 residential units there, in addition to, you know, the commercial and other things, all that traffic. I don't see how it benefits us. And as you mentioned, there is that other building, not related to them, but another building that's going in, 20-something stories that they're putting there. I don't see how we have any benefit from this project as it's currently proposed for our neighborhood.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Scott Lewis? Mr. Scott Lewis' comment card says as follows. While I support this concept as a resident, I'm currently opposed until the city is given more local impact money to offset all of the southbound traffic, especially the 2 intersections, Blue Heron, Broadway, plus Blue Heron and Barack Obama, to offset the huge traffic. Impact Plus allows for other future new developments. The city must plan ahead to avoid gridlock later, which eventually drives away new development. According with Palm Beach County, intersections improvement fund with much higher much higher payment into the city solely of those necessary future improvement. The city must look ahead to work to mitigate the obvious future traffic problems. Separately, roughly 1,000 trips daily, such on Lake Shore, will cause additive problems in Marina Grand, Publix, Blue Heron intersections at 1.6 million plus a condo based on its new neighborhood. While the developers may say they cannot attend, guess it says attend it, they cannot afford it. Can Palm Beach County impact as funds is not dedicated to Riviera Beach? Mr. or Mrs. Ali? They're not here, Chair, and they asked this to be read into the record. How will the plaza sharing the same parking entrance be affected? 2, is the plaza containing Goodwill and Didi's and other small retail businesses considered for purchase and development? And that concludes the comment cards, Chair.
Mhm. All right. For the last statement, for the person who just talked about the parking that's coming into, for the new road here, I think she left already earlier, but just for anyone who was inquiring, because that parking would not be affected because it would be a barrier there, correct, Mr. Richards?
That's correct.
That would be a barrier there, so that road would be separated from the DD's parking lot and everything. That's correct.
I would not use the word barrier, but the roadway will be a delineation. You are correct between our property to the north and the existing to the south. You're correct. Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I do want to just address one area, not a rebuttal. I don't want to rebut, but I just want to provide a little clarity, if that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you for that. We all know that there is a homeless problem there currently, and that's going to be a beautiful community amenity, the green space just on the west side of Lakeshore Drive. It's going to have exquisite lighting. It's going to be monitored. There are restaurants there. Homeless will not be able to camp out there and not be seen. That area is going to be very, very nice, very upscale and monitored. There'll be utility improvements to the area. We have new traffic lights coming. We have water upgrades in the area to benefit the neighborhood. We have sewer upgrades. The electricity is going to be buried in that area. You've seen the road improvements there. There are drainage improvements. There are bike lanes. There's landscaping. There are lighting upgrades. I just want you to realize that, because those items that we're discussing here directly do improve and impact the neighbors. And that's important for you to realize that. So thank you.
You said it does?
Yes, ma'am.
Impact the neighbors?
It does impact, yes.
It does impact
Yes, the water,
neighbors.
yes, the water upgrades, the sewer upgrades, the burying of the electrical lines, the roadway improvements, the bike lanes. Yeah, so.
Please, sir.
So,
Please.
Mr. Shepherd, the lighting upgrades, all of that is a positive impact for the community to the east. Absolutely. A significant effort was put in that area, Lakeshore Drive and the property just to the west of Lakeshore Drive. So those are significant improvements, along with the utility upgrades, so that the neighbors are being positively impacted by this project. Property values you heard the gentleman earlier, property values will have to go up. That area is being significantly improved.
Mr. Richards, I have a question also. Much as I like the impact of having positive organizations and businesses coming to the city of Riviera Beach, our most important thing that we have here are our residents. Is it any way possible, especially with the people here that have their concerns, for you to have a conversation with them to find out that how you guys can come to a happy median on for them to be satisfied if something like this does come to Riviera Beach, to where they will be satisfied, and also you will be satisfied as a business, or your organization be satisfied as a business, to be able to sit down with them and kind of voice some of their immediate concerns, that if it's something that can't be fixed or something that can't be talked about, or some kind of plan or something, to where they feel at ease if something like this does come, or if it's something that they can benefit from. Because like I said, if I live in that area and they're building 2 buildings in my neighborhood, and it's something that's going to block the view, and it's not what was there when they purchased their house, I can understand their concerns. So what is it that you can do in talking with these people here to be able to satisfy them, or to be able to at least meet them halfway on how to solve this problem?
That's a great question, and I would say continuing to communicate, keeping the lines of communication open. We are very willing to meet with individuals or groups. Again, we've met with them. Now, we took copious notes, and quite frankly, the first gentleman that spoke, there's really nothing I could address. But I did hear the lady made some very key points. She said, hey, how does this benefit our neighborhood? So I said, let me share the 9 or 10 items. Some areas we can address. Emotion, I'm not quite sure how to handle emotion other than listening, actually using my ears. I'm learning, the older I get, the more I learn to listen and understand the concerns. So we're willing to meet with them again and again. Quite frankly, we're right there, we're in the neighborhood. So I will open it up again to meet with them. We know who the neighbors are. We actually know them very well. We know where they live. We have their names and phone numbers from the meetings, and I will reach out. We will reach out.
So is it possible for you to be able to get these people phone numbers, addresses, or be able to talk to them after the meeting to be able to voice what their concerns? Because if they're here, they actually have some real concerns. So it'd be best if you talk to them right now and get this cleared up.
Because you're asked, the answer is yes. They know us and we know them. I actually know all of them very well because we've been communicating. But yes, we'll do that again tonight, 100%. And we'll do it again next week. Yes, sir. Today and next week. Absolutely.
Chair.
Thank you.
All right. So I guess we'll go to the board now to be able to talk and have any questions. Can we start, Mrs. Shepherd?
All right, Mr. Guyton, go on. He's writing up a freeze. He's a planner. I want to hear what the planner has to say.
First, okay, because it's really getting late. Everyone has been here a long time. Most of us have worked all day, and all of us are tired. And everyone has an opinion, and most opinions are developed from our life experiences. All of us, well, I am a sum total of my life experiences. I live in a neighborhood where it's very high employment. People are struggling. They can't pay their light bill, some of them. They can't pay their water bill. Many of us, if not all, we don't have that problem. When I go into my neighborhood and see the pain on people's face that are struggling and wonder why there's no jobs in this city that they can go to, it's heart-wrenching. When I look at projects like this, one thing that we have to do is address the concerns of those who have those concerns. Within reason. I was elected 3 times to the city council. This is my 2nd term on the P&Z board. Dealt with a lot of controversial issues. There would never be 100% support. It's not going to happen. It would never happen. We all have had different experiences. Some people don't have to look at those struggling every day like I do. They don't have to worry about where the next meal is coming from. So when I make my decisions, I'm going to make it for the masses. Would this help the masses of the people in my community who are struggling to find a job, who's struggling to pay their bills, who that take a janitorial job? Are we to ignore the concerns? Absolutely not. No, 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 no. But should we stop the project that can help a lot of people in need? Not me. These jobs are important. I hear them talking about the roads haven't been done in years. That requires revenue. You bring in projects that generate more ad valorem taxes, then it's up to the council to use those taxes to improve the services and improve the roads. If we're not generating revenue, it's not going to happen. That building was there for 12 years. People not beating our door down to come to Riviera Beach to build and invest millions. It's not happening. So I have empathy for the concerns and they need to be addressed. But I've been in the game a long time. 100% is never going to happen. So I'm hoping that we understand that there are masses of people in our community that need work. Crime is not generated from wanting to do it. Crime is generated from desperation and need. We're not providing them with any jobs. They got to survive. What do you think they're going to do? I'm not going to let you, but I'm in with this. Because as a professional, I'm a member of a private cigar club. I like cigars. We sit in West Palm Beach and talk about why we don't have anywhere in Riviera Beach to go. Why we can't go to a nice restaurant in Riviera Beach. Why we can't go to retail stores in Riviera Beach. I mean, we talk about this constantly. And when it come and drop in our lap, we got to find a reason now. We can't move forward with it. It's too much for Riviera Beach. It's too high. The north of us, Lake Park, understand that you need to develop in order to generate revenue. West Palm understand you need to develop to generate revenue. Palm Beach Gardens understand. And we have people over here who desperately need jobs. And these people are saying, we're going to create about 1,300 for you. We may not get all 1,300, but if they get 2 or 3, we good. That's somebody that can feed their family, that don't have to go out there and do crime. Those of us that eat every day, pay our bills, pay our light bills, we get into our little silos. I started a chapter of a nationwide organization. A component of that is charitable contribution. We help the homeless. We help foster kids. We help kids going back to school. We just have a scholarship program. It pains me to see those struggling people in my neighborhood every day. And the last thing that I want to say is that most of the people have admitted that this is a good project. It's a good project, but it's a nice project, but we have to have the courage to make the difficult decisions and show compassion to those who need work, who are trying to find their feed their families. And also, to the extent that is reasonable, the operative word is reasonable, address concerns. Never just dismiss them. But I'm not going to let a nice project like this just walk out of the door when I see the pain every day. Not going to happen. So it's my hope that we can take a broader look at this project and the impact it can have on the people in need. Everybody in here paying their bills. I would suspect most. Everybody look healthy. Everybody look like they're going home with their lights on. But when you see people that's wondering how they're gonna make it through the night, it impacts you. That is not a good feeling when you know that you're not struggling like them. That's why I'm committed to charitable contribution. So it's my hope that we understand we're never going to satisfy everybody. It's not going to happen ever, ever, ever. But you don't dismiss those concerns. You try to address them to the extent that you can within reason. I've dealt with people that just, I don't care what you do. I don't support it. I'm not saying that that's what the opposition is saying here, but I have dealt with people with that mindset. We need to understand that it's more than us that are impacted. The people who really need it, they don't come over here. They thinking about how they're going to eat tonight. They're not going to come in here and say, I need the job, because I don't know how much on pay my light bill. So it's my hope, and as was indicated, I am a planner. You generate revenue primarily through development and user fees. User fees, water or trash, you pay your user fees for that. We need to understand that projects like this have a greater impact than one area. This can impact our entire city. Again, the concerns should never be summarily dismissed. But we need to understand that we can't please everybody. And I think that this project is long, long, long overdue. We want to be able to go to a nice place in Riviera Beach. Why we can't have that? What the? Really? We're not deserving of it? We are. There is no perfect project, never, anywhere. There is no perfect project. So it's my hope that my board members will understand that even if there's work need to be done, this project needs to move forward and make sure that the developer try to address the concerns that they can, those that are reasonable, and let's keep this thing moving because Riviera Beach has missed out for years. If we don't take this, the homeless people are gonna stay over there because nobody's coming in here to build. Homeless people don't hang around spots that are active and lit up and bright. That's not where they hang out at. That would address that problem. So, but again, I want to emphasize we should never just summarily dismiss anybody's concerns, but we need to understand that we can't please everybody. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Guyton. Ms. Shepherd, would you like to go?
Yes. That was a lecture. That was a real lecture. And I thank Mr. Guyton who put me on this board, and I've been here about 16 years. And I don't take things light. When I look over at Lone Pine, who's fighting for their life because they want to build these big houses over there and force them out, the infrastructure, and when I hear people say that we're going to have jobs, I would tell you something, that's a pack of lies. That little project that was ordered by Atkins, I didn't see none of us over there. I ain't see none of us over here. And that's not the only time they come in here and lie to us. The only project I think really hard us, and they kept a log, is Viking. I think when they built the marina, when they built this marina, I can't remember who the master developer was at that time. Weiss, thank you.
I was on council.
You're on council, okay. And they did keep a log, so we knew who was here, we knew where they were at. My thing is that I don't see nothing wrong with the project. I just think it's too large for that area. We're going to be,
Please stop there.
That's what I want to do, watch.
Waste of time.
Have a nice day, sir. Have a nice day.
And my heart go out to that part of town because I am familiar with that town. I have a relative over there and I have a friend over there, so I am very aware of what's over there. And I go through that from my house, which is right off of what's the name of the street? I'm tired, you all. Oh my God, I'm tired. And anyway, I have to go down that street past the Goodwill and come in, and it's congested. You can't get to Silver Beach Road. And you make it sound so easy. Well, the car going in, go. I know what it looked like because I saw it in California. And Mr. Guyton, I am for development. I really am. I don't want anybody to think I'm not for development. But they come in here and make it sound so easy and everything's gonna be peaches and cream. They don't live here. How the hell they know what it's gonna look like? I kind of like know what it look like because I've been here a while and I've seen the projects go up and I know exactly what they look like and I know the promises that they've made for these 16 years. So I don't take a blind eye to it. And Mr. Guy, I agree with you to a point. Riviera Beach do need restaurants. I go downtown to West Palm Beach all the time and I eat that, and I feel bad when I have to sit there and give my credit card and my bill is $60. But that money should be here in Riviera Beach. I do. I feel it. But I will not stop the project if it's amenable to the city. I go with the flow. I'm not happy with it, and I want to go on record that when they start coming to city council, when people start talking, the first thing they say, well, Ms. Shepherd said it was all right. And I want to make sure I'm not all right. But I will not stop the project, not at all. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Shepherd.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes,
Sorry,
yes, sir.
over here. If I may, I did want to add one piece of additional context to the project as you consider regarding the component related to jobs. I know that this board has pushed for a local recruitment and employment with just about every project over the last several years. I would like to point out a distinction with this project using the MEHOP component of the ordinance for these bonuses. It's going to require them to draft a contract with the city or a development agreement that outlines their minimum employment requirements that they must meet. It will outline their recruitment plan that they must adhere to. And there are penalties if they don't meet the minimum employment thresholds that are listed in the MEHOP component of the code. So the difference here is there is an ordinance that stipulates what conditions and what the minimum employment percentages, numbers of minorities on the job, minority businesses that must be contracted with this job. Those are all explicit and they must meet them. And if they don't, there are penalties that they must pay because of that. So if this moves forward, similar to the Project Celeste that was approved recently, they will have to come back behind that city council agreement with the development agreement that outlines their responsibilities under MEHOP in terms of employment and affordable housing. We have done the first agreement under that for the Project Celeste, so we do have a strong template that the developer has and has been working on, and their legal and our legal will finalize that if this project is approved by City Council. But I just want to make the distinction that in this case, it's not just a good faith effort for recruitment, it's actual hard numbers that they must meet, or if not, there will be additional compensations that have to come to the city.
Thank you, sir.
Like
Yes,
what?
ma'am.
Excuse me. Like what, Mr. Sherman? What? Because they say put up there Riviera Beach, and they don't. They don't say Riviera Beach. They say West Palm Beach, and they say, well, we're going to give jobs. They don't give jobs. So you're saying compensate. Well, you find out they're not doing it. What's the penalty?
So the way the agreement has been fashioned before, I don't remember all of the thresholds offhand, but there's a certain percentage of minority jobs that have to be on site during the duration of construction. They have to report, they have to provide a jobs report to the city at a regular interval. It could be monthly, it could be quarterly. If cannot demonstrate that they met those employment thresholds, there is an equivalent fee that they must pay for missing that benchmark. And that is what is structured into the development agreement. And that ordinance allows the city to have teeth behind these employment requirements, whereas other times it's more of just a, a handshake agreement. But this is a little different in that respect.
Will planning and zoning be privy to that information?
Yes, ma'am.
Will we be privy? We'll know.
Yes, we can definitely provide those reports to you. Yes.
I would like a copy of that.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Burgess?
Gonna be brief. Yes, I do definitely agree jobs are important, but these are not long-term jobs. These are construction jobs that will, last the duration of the construction. So if construction, let's say, is 18 months, so these will be jobs that are beneficial to residents for about 18 months. Is it better than nothing? Yes, it is. An increased tax base is also good. But we all know when we own property, there's a price that comes with that because your property tax assessments also go up. And I hear it every day on my job when people get their property tax bills and they cannot afford to pay them. Okay, so people are being priced out of their home because when your property taxes increase, if you still pay a mortgage, then your escrow increases. And if you can't make your monthly mortgage payment, then guess what? You got to sell. You got to move out of Florida. A lot of people are having to do that. So again, I'm not going to be long, but there's good, there's bad, and it's just finding the right balance. I don't hear a lot of balance with this. Only, I would say, most beneficial part of this project right now is the MEHOP. The contributions that they've charitable that they've given to the community so far, 177,000, based on what this project has bought or going to bring them. You probably can't even buy one of the units for 177,000. So again, good and bad, can't stop progress, but it's just working together. That's all I'm saying. I care a lot about my community too. And I know it's not going to be beneficial for everyone. And that's just really all I have at this moment.
Thank you, Ms. Burgess. Mr. Gallo?
I have a question for staff. I know that Silver Beach Road, I guess, is shared between Riviera Beach and Lake Park. But if I lived in this glamorous place that's about to go up, I can tell you now, I will be driving up and down Silver Beach Road, not going to North Lake, not going to Blue Heron. Silver Beach Road will be the easiest way to go. It goes all the way to Congress. Congress takes you to I-95 in either direction. Has anybody spoken with Lake Park, or has staff come up with a solution for Silver Beach Road when these projects are going up, especially the one that's going up in Lake Park and now one going up in Riviera Beach? And you can't tell me that people are not going to use Silver Beach Road once they figure it out.
Mr. Gallo, let me try to answer that. In that part of your backup, the county required the applicant to produce a right turn lane on the north side of Silver Beach Road going west, so that when vehicles are coming out of that project potentially and going west, make a left turn on Silver Beach going toward Broadway, they're required to add an additional turn lane there to relieve any traffic who then will end up being able to turn right going north on Broadway.
But think logically. I've been here all my life, so I know how the traffic is on North Lake. I know how the traffic is on Blue Heron. Which way would you go if you lived there? Silver Beach.
Depends on where I'm going and what I need to do to get there.
Well, I can tell you now, when most people are leaving out going to work, they're going to take the best route. Or if they have to go anywhere else. So my question again, has anybody spoken with Lake Park or the county or whoever they need to speak to about Silver Beach Road heading west?
I personally, as a staff, have not talked to Lake Park, any staff, but I was told that we do have a letter of no objection from the town of Lake Park regarding this project. They did not object to the project.
Well, that's no problem with them not objecting, but the problem is you got kids, you got a little daycare, you got apartments, homes on Silver Beach Road, and nobody is taking that into account. The city of Lake Park, Palm Beach County, Riviera Beach. Somebody have to figure out what's gonna happen to that road.
If you don't mind, I could try to touch on it real quickly. Part of the data that we have to do is look at not just the immediate proximity of the roadway right next to the building, but then how that traffic moves. And of course, you're right. Silver Beach going west to Congress is one of those links we had to look at, and certainly there's capacity within that. I understand, capacity maybe so it's there, but to your point, we'll take a deep dive into it just to make sure we fully understand what's the situation there, and so that when we come in front of council, we can address that concern and make sure it's very clear.
Right, because I'm going to force that issue all the way to the council.
Understood.
Next slide, Mr. Gallo. Mr. Brown.
Mr. Wiley eloquently addressed it already. I have a simple question about the site plan. Is there no space inside the building that emergency vehicles can turn around? Inside the Oculina, if there's an issue there.
The question is emergency vehicle access for the building?
Yes.
Be able to turn around, yes.
Inside.
Right, yes. We had to, part of the process is providing some circulation analysis and show how vehicles move through the building itself. Now, obviously, like a fire truck's not going to go inside the structure. We provided spaces on the exterior of the building for them to be able to pull off on the side of the road and be able to access and provide any emergency services to the building itself. But yes, internal to the building and the parking structure, there's adequate circulation to move vehicles through. Right, and part of that review obviously is the police and fire are part of that review process, and they reviewed and knew there was adequate access for them.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, and I guess I have a couple questions also myself. I know Mr. Guyton expressed one thing that the people in the city complained about, and Ms. Shepherd also spoke of, is that not having somewhere to be able to go eat and be able to spend money in our city that's going to be actually, that's going to stay in our city. And we just approved, I think, if I'm correct, maybe 2 meetings ago, where we have a place on Singer Island that will also be providing a restaurant that'll be good for somewhere for the people here to be able to go and keep their tax base here in the city. And also, you stated that there'll be 2 restaurants inside of Oculina that will be able to do the same thing. And like Mr. Guyton was saying, it'd be good to have somewhere where we'll be able to go and spend our money and be able to have somewhere to sit down and have something nice and beautiful as this project is. But again, everyone is not going to be satisfied in this project. But um, with progress. I mean, I'm a school teacher by trade, and one thing I talk to my students about also is about becoming better and being able to grow. And at some point in time, there will be obstacles in your way. But in this situation, I have to agree with some of my colleagues that um, the bigger issue is that providing jobs, and like Ms. Burgess stated earlier, that yeah, some of the jobs will be temporary, but some of the jobs will be permanent also, because some of these jobs are going to deal with housekeeping, maybe chefs, cleanup, painting. I'm pretty sure janitorial. There's going to be numerous jobs that are going to be there that are going to be permanent, and maybe possibly management and everything. So it'd be good to have people to at least have these opportunities to be able um, to take advantage of a project this beautiful. One thing about it, I'm born and raised here in this city, and in Federal Gardens, and went to middle school here, went to elementary school here, went to high school here. And one thing when I got back from college and came back and noticed that some of the land here was the same way it was when I left 20 years ago, and to see that they're still the same thing, I'm like, there's nothing being done here. This is no progress or whatever. And I've always talked about that. And that's the reason why when I got back here, I wanted to get involved into politics, and not necessarily politics, but get involved in my community as a servant and to be able to help out here. And now that we have people who are now coming into our city, being able to want to do business here and be able to build here and make the place, to make our community better, um, I don't see any major issues in stopping someone from coming here and being able to enjoy this city just as well as I would like to enjoy it. Now, I remember talking to, um, doing a visit, talking to one of the colleagues at Oculina. I was saying that, and I know you probably gonna find this funny, Miss Shepherd, that I was telling them that I'll probably never get an opportunity to be able to live at this place because it's so expensive, right? But one thing I can do, and I always tell my kids in school, was that it was always good to have someone to be able to come to the school. I was talking to Mr. Richards about this so the kids can see um, this business professional that speaks well, to see someone who dresses well, and see someone to be able to run a business right. So that gives the kid something to see. And what we need also is that to have a building or something, a place like this, to be able to see something like this and one day walk by and say, one day I want to live there. And that kid will take that path to be able to work, be able to make money, and be able to earn his way to where one day he'll be able to live there. And I want them to have them goals, and I tell them the same thing. So even though I may not do it, hopefully my son is motivated to be able to have the opportunity, and my friends and their sons and their grandkids to be able to work hard and be able to earn their way to this beautiful location also. Hopefully the one in River Beach and not the one in Lake Park. All right.
Mr. Wiley, you got to know one thing.
Yes, ma'am.
You'll probably make a friend that would have you come over to their places. They keep you fit, because I'm over at the Tierra and all those places over there. So you still got a chance to go over there. Where's the dumpsters going to be in the project? Where's the garbage going?
So there's the dumpsters are again inside the parking garage, so they're not like external. So that access it accommodates for the dumpsters to be pulled off to the side, internal to the structure, correct? Yes.
Well, it's 28 units. How will it get down?
Trash chute, there'll be chutes within the building, so within the hallway, you'd be able to take your garbage bag, drop it down the chute, it goes all the way down to the bottom. It's a fancy building.
I've been in fancy buildings with those, and I kept telling the housing authority, if I was you all, I would try to think of another way to get that garbage down. They haven't figured out now, and I tell you, it's horrendous, the smell. So I hope you all got a plan for 20.
We have to have a plan. There's no doubt about it. It's one of obviously we can't have that being an issue that would keep residents from being happy within their home.
Okay, let's call the question.
Before you leave, I have a question for you also. Hey, thanks a lot for the on your presentation where you had the comparison, because that's what I do in school a lot. We're showing kids how to do multi-step equations with variables on both sides. How you compare the grocery store the traffic
Traffic
compared to
tips.
what it would be with having everything that you're providing there at that time and seeing how it would balance out. Now, I do understand what my colleagues were saying that going down Silver Beach Road would be an issue, and hopefully what Riviera Beach and Lake Park can get together and basically talk about expansion, if it's possible, going all the way to Congress. Well, I know Congress is already, that area all the way up to Obama has already been worked on. But that part with the residential area there, if you could make that a little more convenient for the people going back and forth, and for the people who live there on Silver Beach Road, that would be nice. Um, One idea also, in coming out of Oculina and you're going west, and before you get to Broadway, you were saying there was going to be 3 lanes, or was it going to be 4 lanes? Because I was thinking that if you had 4 lanes and 3 of them were directed in going to west traffic and one have an entrance, and that way you have traffic going to the right, traffic going straight, and then traffic going also to the going south. Strictly because I've seen a lot of accidents in certain areas where the cars are actually going straight, because you're saying you're gonna have the one that's going straight and also going south at the same time,
and south.
and
Yeah.
then those people act like they're going straight and then turn at the last minute and end up hitting oncoming traffic. And I just saw an accident like that in Palm Beach Gardens where they had the same type. So was it possible to be able to have where it was 4 lanes and it had 3 lane choices where one had to go right, one had to go straight, and one had to go north?
It's something that we'll have to study to see if that's something that is feasible. I would think that within the right of way that exists there today, it's probably not. And then,
Right.
but so we have the dedicated right turn. We have the straight and the southbound, like you mentioned, which is an improvement from where it is today.
Right.
But it's something we can study.
And like I said, it's just an idea because to make it a little safer. Because again, I just saw an accident where someone was in that lane, and instead of going across at the last minute, they tried to turn and bam, they ran into had an accident. And of course, we just want to make sure that our citizens are safe. And I have one more question about. I like the situation where you made the building to where a lot of the traffic will not impact Lakeshore Drive as much, because the traffic will be coming into the building on the north and the south side rather than the east and west side, where it would impact Broadway and also Lakeshore Drive. And I think that was a good idea in doing that. And I know the first guy spoke of some of the issues that he had about stating that the water was being messed in the boats. But I was thinking, I was like, well, we haven't started building the project yet, so this necessarily wasn't the Oculina project. This was with Nautilus project. So I think he was
right
kind of addressing something that wasn't pertaining to what we're doing now.
And I think that was, and that's not an accurate statement anyway. So, I'm not sure where he got that information from.
Got it. So I'm done asking questions.
I'm ready to make a motion, yeah, because it's late.
Okay, and per Mr. Guiding, does anyone like to make a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
A second.
I would like to make sure, Mr. Guy, you include that condition about the addition of the curbs and gutters along Lakeshore Drive to make sure that's, a part of it.
So there we're just on 7C, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
we have
jumped the
2
gun.
more items. Now, those items don't require presentations, do they?
Staff's presentation was comprehensive of all of them
Okay,
related to this
so we
project.
just need to approve those. Okay, so the motion I made is sufficient, Madam Attorney? Okay, there was it was a second by Ms.
Shepherd.
Yeah.
We need to go to a vote.
Yeah, we can go to a vote. It's really getting late.
Margaret Shepherd,
No.
Renee Burgess,
He's in the restroom right now.
Lucy Knighton,
Yes.
Anthony Brown,
Yes.
William Wiley.
Yes.
That vote passed with Ms. Shepherd dissenting, Ms. Burgess abstaining.
Okay, so
Not
the,
present.
I thought you said we couldn't abstain, we had to vote.
She's just not present. I'm sorry.
She can't, you're correct, she cannot abstain.
Okay,
She was not here.
you all make these rules and then you don't follow.
so she was absent for the vote. Okay, we have two more items, don't we? Let's read them. Let's keep it moving.
Would she be able to, if we proceed, would she be able to vote on that once she gets back?
Not the one that's already been voted.
Okay.
Okay.
Item 7D, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Revere Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving a rezoning application ZA23-0008 from Silver Beach Road Partners LLC, requesting a zoning map amendment for a downtown general district designation to an inlet harbor center planned unit development district designation for property located at 3700 Broadway, PCN 56434228 38000010, and providing for an effective date and for other purposes.
I move for approval since there's no presentation associated with these motions.
All right, so we can do it, do a motion to approve 7D.
Is there a second?
Okay.
Second.
Bruce Guyton,
Yes.
Margaret Shepherd, Anthony Brown,
Yes.
William Wiley.
Yes.
That motion passed with Board Member Burgess absent. Item 7E, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Revere Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving a special exception inlet harbor plan unit development, I8C PUD request, SE 240003, and a site plan request, SB 230022, from Silver Beach Road Partners LLC for the Oculina mixed-use development to include 399 condominium residential units, plus minus 9,680 square feet of retail, plus minus 17,120 square feet of restaurant, and plus minus 11,000 square feet of office space with a parking garage on approximately plus minus 3.385 acres of land, plus minus 147,452 square feet, generally located at 3700 Broadway Street, providing for conditions of approval, providing for an effective date, and for other purposes.
So move.
Second.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Staff would like to clarify that the motion would be to recommend approval with the added condition for the street reconstruction with curb and gutter and speed table. That agree?
I would amend my motion to include that condition. I guess there needs to be a second to my amendment.
Second.
Margaret Shepherd, Bruce Guyton,
Yes.
Renee Burgess,
This came in, so I'm not sure.
Anthony,
Yes.
William Wiley.
Yes.
That motion passed with Margaret Shepherd dissenting and Renee Burgess abstaining.
Oh, we can't abstain.
Well, she says she doesn't want to vote, and she is present, right?
I took that as a
Well, I didn't know
no.
what was, right, I didn't know what was going on because I just walked in, so I just heard something about amending for road, so.
Right, so to be clear, we want to make sure that everyone is compliant with the sunshine law and that we have a vote where everyone voted. So, Mr. Chair, if I may, I would ask that we go ahead and redo the vote again for the record.
Okay.
Okay. I move for approval again, including the condition of the gutters. staff has the exact language. And I guess somebody can second it.
Second.
Margaret Shepherd,
No.
Bruce Guyton,
Yes.
Renee Burgess, Anthony Brown,
Yes.
William Wiley.
Yes.
That motion passed with Margaret Shepherd and Renee Burgess dissenting.
All right, on to workshop items.
None, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and on to, number 8 was workshop items. We have none. And number 9, general discussion. Any public comments?
None. The next scheduled board meeting is July 11th, 2024.
These staff updates, any updates?
None.
All right, any correspondences?
None, sir.
All right, and I would like to state that we had spoke of discussing the elections for, chair and vice chair, and original chair here, Mr. Fernandez, is not here today, and will wish for us to wait until the next meeting to be able to vote on the chair and vice chair.
I think that is the summertime is when that is scheduled. The next election, I think it's based on the timeline.
That's fine.
That's
Spoke with legal about it,
all right, and now to D, planning and zoning board comments. Any more comments about the planning and zoning board? The up and coming planning and zoning board meeting will be July 11, 2024. And do I have a motion for adjournment?
Come on.
And I'll second that.